Chapter 987. Just as Chen Xuanzang was filled with grief and indignation, he saw Gao Zuilan's expression change. She screamed in fear, "Father!" Xuanzang hurriedly turned around, not even daring to raise his head. Just as he was about to make his way out, he heard a familiar voice. "Zuilan, what are you still doing here? Tomorrow is your big day, hurry up and dress up. Tomorrow I will marry you off." "Father!" Miss Duan couldn't suppress her anxiety. "How can it be so fast? If you don't hurry, do you want me to let you do something embarrassing?" The man slammed his crutch on the ground and shouted, "Go!" Xuanzang lowered his head and pretended to be a passerby. He played with a tree branch, playing with the leaves. He felt someone walking in front of him and didn't dare to raise his head. Suddenly, he heard someone ask him, "Mister, why are you still here?" Xuanzang whispered, "Oh, I went the wrong way." Then, he covered his face and wanted to leave. Unexpectedly, that person pulled him back. Xuanzang looked up helplessly and almost cried out in surprise. In front of him was Magician, who was dressed a little older. He pulled Xuanzang's hand and said, "Mr. Chen, we were tricked by Monkey King again." "So it really is you!" Xuanzang exclaimed. "How did you— I'm Gao Zuilan's father now, Mr. Gao." "Mr. Chen, the situation this time is the same as last time. Although I used the demon-revealing mirror to seal the demon pig's demonic nature, causing its original heart to sink into this illusion, Sun Wukong's magic power is very strong. In the end, this environment is still controlled by him. Our fates are all in his hands. Have you heard of a phrase? Role-playing. Magician said, Sun Wukong pulled us into an illusion and replaced many of the original characters here to participate in the pig demon's past. I think he wants to test you." "Test me?" Xuanzang was confused. "Yes, to test your determination and perseverance, to question your conscience and nature, to expose your ugliness and ignorance. This illusion can cause one's consciousness to sink. So why are you awake and still able to retain your memories? Monkey King controls the environment and background, while we are like actors, playing the roles. To reform the pig demon, we can't rely on Monkey King, we have to rely on you. Your choice determines the development of this environment." Magician sighed. "This is the most vicious part of Monkey King. He changed Gao Zuilan into Miss Duan to make you feel the pain of pushing the person you love into the fire. If you can't bear it, then you have to kill Zhu Gangchen before Gao Zuilan and repeat the tragedy. If the pig demon remembers the past in the illusion, its demonic nature will be uncontrollable. Your so-called exorcism to reform human nature will become a joke." Magician said in a low voice, "This is a choice that will throw you into the most extreme dilemma. It's a test of whether you will adhere to your ideals or follow your emotions. There's such a test." Chen Xuanzang was speechless. If you want to reform the pig demon, you have to endure the same pain as him. Monkey King's voice drifted into Chen Xuanzang's ears. "If you can't even endure his pain, how can you talk about getting him to forgive you? Everyone has the right to choose not to forgive, everyone has the right to take revenge. It's easy for you to kill the pig demon. It killed so many people, its soul should be destroyed. But it's not that easy to reform it. Zhu Gangchen calls me boss after all. I can't force him to forgive me. But I promised you that I would give you a chance to reform it. Now is the chance I've created for you. As for how to make the pig demon choose to forgive, it's up to you." The dark clouds in the sky dispersed, revealing the cunning moon. The Monkey King's voice came from there. Chen Xuanzang looked up at the bright moon and said in pain, "But why did you drag Miss Duan into this? Monkey King, you can torture me, make me suffer, and make me in a dilemma. But why didn't you let the person I love go? How did I offend you? I'm not the one who dragged her into this. It's you. Why would a love make two people suffer? Why would a predestined fate make a completely unrelated person suffer so much? Aren't you the source of all this?" Goku said indifferently, "From the very beginning, You have been constantly hurting her. Could it be that at that time I was also there? Isn't the real source of all this because you've fallen in love with her? Monkey King's words were deafening. Chen Xuanzang was speechless. Monkey King said coldly, "All love will meet, but it's hard to last long. Life is filled with fear, and life is at stake. Love gives birth to worry, and love gives birth to fear. If you leave love, there will be no worry or fear. Chen Xuanzang, all this is because of you. You've fallen in love." Xuanzang was a little dazed. Why can't I fall in love? My heart is beating, how can I stop it? You think I'm making things difficult for you? On the contrary, I'm giving you a warning. You think I'm making things difficult for you? Actually, I'm just revealing fate. Monkey King said, "All troubles arise from ignorance. There are 8 sufferings in the world, how can it be the creation of fate? This pain comes from human nature. As a human, there are 8 sufferings. There are many causes of ignorance in the world. It's not the fluttering of banners or wind, it's the heart." Monkey King sighed, "I've seen 8 words in my master's place, and it can solve your doubts." Xuanzang raised his head. "Which 8 words?" "Everyone is innocent, and all sentient beings are sinners." Xuanzang thought for a long time and then raised his head. "I don't believe it. There must be a way to resolve all the sufferings in the world. Buddhism can deliver all living beings from suffering, and it can eliminate the sufferings of all living beings in this world. There must be a way to redeem and make up for all the tragedies in the world. Buddha can save all living beings, and it's not because he's powerless." Monkey King said indifferently, "Is that so? Then go and try." Xuanzang said firmly, "I can definitely make the pig demon feel at ease, make Miss Duan happy, and prevent this tragedy from happening again. I can definitely enlighten the pig demon, and persuade Miss Duan to give up on this relationship. I can definitely let go of my heart, forget, be relieved, forget each other, and finally meet again with a smile." Monkey King, do you dare to bet with me? Bet on what? Bet that Buddhism can save all living beings, and relieve all their sufferings. The moonlight in the sky shimmered, and it was as if Monkey King was smiling. He replied, "All right, let's bet this once." Chapter 988. Magician, who was playing the role of Old Man Gao, quietly walked to a secluded corner. Seeing the person standing in the dark, he sighed, "Why did you come to find me again?" The person took a step forward. It was Chen Xuanzang. He said sincerely, "I came to beg you. As long as you don't marry your daughter to Zhu Ganglai, I will have a chance to resolve this ill-fated relationship." Magician said helplessly, "You have to know that this is just an illusion. It doesn't matter if I marry my daughter to Zhu Ganglai or not. What matters is whether Zhu Ganglai is willing to let go of the past. We are not here to give Miss Duan happiness, but to let go of the hatred in the pig demon's heart. Fine, I can cancel the wedding tomorrow. But if the pig demon is angered by you, then all the work we have done to seal his demonic nature and awaken his human nature will go to waste." "I will go back and persuade the pig demon," Chen Xuanzang said firmly. Magician was surprised. "How? You have to come up with a reason to persuade him to give up his wife as an adulterer? This is a reenactment of an illusion. Everything that has happened here is not real. Bear with it, it will be over soon." Magician persuaded. "It's not a matter of whether I can bear with it or not, but I can't sacrifice other people's happiness just to awaken the pig demon's heart. I don't have the right to make this sacrifice for Miss Duan. If I have to make this choice..." Xuanzang looked up and said firmly, "I would rather kill it." Magician was speechless. He could only say, "Then you go and persuade the pig demon. If you can convince it, I will cancel tomorrow's wedding." Xuanzang said in a low voice, "It's a deal." Magician looked at him and said meaningfully, "It's a deal. Then I will go find it now." Xuanzang turned and left. Zhu Ganglai lived in the Zhu clan's pig farm, which wasn't far from the Gao clan village. Perhaps it was because of the illusion, but when Chen Xuanzang wanted to find him, he naturally came to the Zhu clan's pig farm. He recognized Zhu Ganglai from the crowd at a glance, because he was really as ugly as a pig. A man as eye-catching as Zhu Ganglai was like a firefly in the dark no matter where he was. He was so bright and outstanding. His eye-catching ears, his uneven, rotten yellow teeth, his amazing knife skills that cut a pig into 8 pieces on the chopping board, and the melancholy martini all betrayed him. Chen Xuanzang walked in front of the pork stall and picked up the martini. He said, "I've only seen 2 pork men who drink martini. Was it a coincidence? You are one of them." Zhu Gonglia's eyes didn't look at Xuanzang. He focused on his knife and said in a low voice, "This cup is on me." Chen Xuanzang drank it in one gulp and sighed. People are always obsessed with appearances. Just like this martini. Who would have thought that even if it was placed in a pork stall, it wouldn't be stained with any oil? It still maintained a perfect octave, and the salt is just right. Paired with the lemon, it's very refreshing. He took a deep breath and said, "The base is gold wine, and the storage time is just right." Some people can be as elegant and clean as ever even if they are standing in front of a pork stall, but some people will be greasy, filthy, and rude even if they are in a banquet. Chen Xuanzang looked at Zhu Ganglai, who had just slaughtered a pig. He was dressed very cleanly, and even his sleeves, which were the easiest to be stained with oil, were very clean. Even though he was standing next to the pork stall, Zhu Ganglai stood out from the rest. His clothes were immaculate, and his hair was neat and tidy. Even the pork that had just been cut into 8 pieces was neat and clean. He did not look like he was slaughtering a pig, but like he was creating a work of art. If it was not because he was so ugly, this man would be an elegant gentleman. "The world is wrong about you," Chen Xuanzang exclaimed. "If you weren't so ugly, you would definitely be a very popular person." "That would be too close to them." Zhu Ganglai laughed. "It wouldn't be that nice." "Mr. Chen, what brings you here today?" Zhu Ganglai raised his head and asked. Even at this moment, he didn't look at Chen Xuanzang. He seemed to be too shy and always avoided eye contact with others. "You know me?" Chen Xuanzang was a little surprised. Zhu Ganglai nodded. "I've heard of Mr. Chen's name. Then you must know about my relationship with Gao Zuelan." Chen Xuanzang said in surprise. "I came here today to persuade you to give up on this marriage and prevent the tragedy that is about to happen. Gao Zuelan doesn't love you, and her personality is so impulsive. If you two are together..." "Okay." Zhu Ganglai lowered his head and avoided Chen Xuanzang's eyes. He just happened to stare at the knife. "You two won't be happy together." Chen Xuanzang still wanted to persuade him, but he suddenly said in surprise, "Wait. Mr. Zhu, what did you just say?" "I said okay." Zhu Ganglai was still as shy as before. Chen Xuanzang saw him staring at the knife and said in fear, "Mr. Zhu, don't be impulsive. I actually don't love Gao Zuelan. I'm not doing this for myself. I just want everyone to be happy. I'm not impulsive." Zhu Ganglai said lightly, "Since you said so, I'll give up." After saying that, he picked up the martini that Chen Xuanzang drank in one gulp and walked back. Chen Xuanzang looked at his back and felt that something was wrong. He said in a daze, That simple? That's too careless. Mr. Zhu, do you want to reconsider?" "No need." Zhu Ganglai said without turning his head, "Let's just leave it at that." "Thank you." Chen Xuanzang's face was full of confusion, and he subconsciously said to Zhu Gonglia's back. When Chen Xuanzang returned to Gao village, he still hadn't recovered. He couldn't understand. Did I succeed? The cause was very strange, the process was very magical, and the ending was very confusing. He looked around and said in a low voice, "But the pig demon's obsession is still not solved." For some reason, Chen Xuanzang's heart felt heavy. At this time, Miss Duan. No, Gao Zuelan came out of nowhere with a face full of surprise and jumped into Chen Xuanzang's arms. Chen Xuanzang was flustered. "Miss Duan." No, Miss Gao, please behave yourself. Gao Tsuelon smiled shyly. You still say you don't love me. I know everything, I promise you. She turned her head and stomped her feet, showing the attitude of a little girl. Magician, on the other hand, shook his head and sighed. What do you promise me? Chen Xuanzang looked confused. You're still pretending. Miss Gao said shyly and happily, I already know that you went to Zhu Ganglai to break off the engagement. You're so brave. You want to marry her, but you're so bold to go to her fiancé to break off the engagement. Other than I do, I really can't think of anything else to say to you. Miss Gao, listen to me. Chen Xuanzang wanted to speak, but he saw that Gao Tsuelon had already closed her eyes and pouted her lip. Suddenly, a sentence from Miss Duan flashed across his mind. When a girl acts like this, it's to let you kiss her. For some reason, he moved his face closer to Gao Tsuelon. When he felt her breath on his face, Chen Xuanzang instantly woke up and pushed Gao Tsuelon away. He said loudly, But I don't love you. Gao Tsuelon was instantly awakened and her eyes widened. What did you just say? I don't think I heard it clearly. Chen Xuanzang was confused and he said loudly, I thank you for liking me, but I don't like you. I broke off the engagement because you don't like Zhu Gang. What did you just say? Miss Duan's figure instantly overlapped with Gao Tsuelon's, and she said tearfully, I said I don't like you. I don't love you. I don't want to marry you either. Chen Xuanzang said loudly, Thank you for liking me, and I also hope that you can be happy. But I have my responsibilities. I'm wholeheartedly focused on saving the world. I hope that everyone can be happy, and I also hope that you can be happy. But my love is for all living beings, and all my feelings are dedicated to all living beings. I don't leave any room for you. I hope that you can be happy because you're also one of the living beings, and I don't want to hurt anyone. You said that you don't love me, then those words? Were you lying to me before? Gao Tsuelon asked in a terrified tone. The previous Chen Xuanzang wasn't me. The previous Chen Xuanzang was only the Chen Xuanzang in your memory. He isn't me, and what he said has nothing to do with me, Chen Xuanzang said coldly. Gao Tsuelon took 2 steps back, but my heart tells me that I like you, and you like me. Your heart is deceiving you, Chen Xuanzang said coldly. You like me now, but you can like anyone else in the future. Find someone you like and marry him. Forget about me. Forget about the person who once broke your heart. If you don't love me, then why did you go to Zhu Ganglai to break off the engagement? Gao Tsuelon roared, as if she was making a final, desperate struggle. Chen Xuanzang said, In order to avoid a tragedy, if you don't love him, then don't marry him, lest you and him be hurt. Okay. Gao Tsuelon stopped crying and stood up in a sorry state. She looked into Chen Xuanzang's eyes, which were filled with hatred and love. She closed her eyes with a smile and said loudly, Since I can't marry the person I love, then I can find someone who loves me. Although Zhu Ganglai is ugly, he isn't as disgusting as you. Chen Xuanzang, I, Gao Tsuelon, will sever all ties with you today. You don't have to decide for me. Whatever you say doesn't count. Gao Tsuelon said loudly, Tomorrow, the wedding will be held as per normal. After saying that, Gao Tsuelon turned around and left. A few drops of tears fell as she turned around. Chen Xuanzang was dumbfounded. He didn't know why things had developed in such a way. The Monkey King who was in the sky said indifferently, Like I said, I don't need to mess things up. He will mess things up himself. Do you think that his fate is decided by me? Do you think that his tragedy is caused by me? Even without me, everything will still happen. From the moment he fell in love with me, it was already destined. Magician sighed, First, it's best not to see each other. This way they won't fall in love. I once worried that too much love will harm the path of Brahman, and I fear that I will leave the city when I enter the mountains. How can there be a perfect method in this world, not letting down the Tathagata, not letting you down? The Monkey King sighed, How can a person who is destined to obtain the scriptures obtain a perfect love? The Monkey King turned around and asked, Say, do you think that Miss Duan is the incarnation of Guanyin Bodhisattva? If that's the case, Chen Xuanzang won't have to be sad anymore. Miss Duan's true identity is a man? Magician thought for a moment and nodded. Only then can it be perfect. Chapter 989. Have you decided? Magician, who was playing the role of Mr. Gao, sighed. I have decided. Tears flowed down Gao Tsuelan's cheeks unknowingly, smudging her makeup. She slowly picked up the red veil and covered her head. I have decided to try one last time. If he really loves me, he will come to stop this wedding. If he doesn't love me, my persistence will not end well. Thank you for helping me hide it. Gao Tsuelan, no, Miss Duan, wore the red veil. In a place where no one could see, her eyes were filled with sadness. Magician sighed. Have you ever thought that it's not that he doesn't love you, it's that he can't love you? The person I love is a hero. He can put the whole world in his heart, but he won't leave a corner for me. If that's the case, I am willing to use everything I have to make him understand that he has people in his heart, but I only have him in my heart. I will help him become an unparalleled hero, in exchange for a small corner in his heart that belongs to me. Some guessed the beginning correctly, some guessed the ending correctly. Magician sighed. Perhaps I shouldn't tell you this, but his fate is sealed. But I still don't understand. Is the answer really that important? It's important to me. It's important to every girl. Miss Duan sat on the sedan chair and whispered through the curtain. I am willing to do everything I can to help him become the person he wants to be, but he must tell me whether he loves me or not. Let's go, she whispered. Zhuang Baifan turned his head and glanced at them indifferently. He raised the swana in his hand, and the loud sound of gongs and drums rang out. The grand wedding procession, carrying the bridal sedan, began to move towards the Zhu family's piggery. There were red wedding papers everywhere, firecrackers and big red flowers everywhere, but the procession did not have the slightest bit of a festive atmosphere. Chen Xuanzang looked at the procession from Gao village. He was speechless. They're already far away. You're still looking. Zhuang Baifan's voice came from behind him. Chen Xuanzang looked back in surprise. Didn't you go to the wedding? Just because we look the same, does that mean it's me? Zhuang Baifan sneered. That's the Monkey King's transformation. Chen Xuanzang sighed and said, I didn't expect that just transforming Gao Tsuelan into Miss Duan's appearance would throw my mind into chaos. I even forgot about my goal of reforming the pig demon. To think that I made a bet with him so confidently. Chen Xuanzang sighed and said, I understand. I lost the bet the moment I was tempted by it. Even now I still couldn't let it go. But if I went to stop Gao Tsuelan and Zhu Gonglia's wedding, I would completely fall into Monkey King's trap. He wants me to personally act as the adulterer and destroy my concept of exorcism. So? Zhuang Baifan asked. You just watched as Gao Tsuelan married Zhu Ganglai. Do you know? Xian Zong replied, Actually, Zhu Ganga is a good person. Without his appearance, he was better than most men in this world. As for Gao Tsuelan, she only looked exactly like Miss Duan. However, she was not a person who cared about appearances. They'll be happy without me interfering. As long as I let go of my prejudice against Zhu Gangxi's appearance, as long as I let go of my obsession with Gao Tsuelan who looks exactly like Miss Duan, as long as I let go of my appearance and appearance, this might be the real way to enlighten the pig demon. Because of his appearance, Zhu Ganglai was discriminated against. As long as he let go of his obsession with sex appeal, he would be able to change his mind. Naturally, I'll be able to obtain his approval. Zhuang Baifan quietly watched Xuanzang act tough, then coldly replied, Zhuang Baifan can be someone else, but why can't Gao Tsuelan be Miss Duan? You saw that the magician was not a magician, and you thought that you had seen through the illusion. You thought that there was no role-playing in the illusion. But why don't you ask yourself why you wanted to kiss me in the first place? Chen Xuanzang was stunned. He touched his heart and said in a daze, so, a magician might not be a magician, but Gao Cuelon is really Miss Duan. Zhuang Baifan said, I can be Zhuang Baifan, anyone can be Zhuang Baifan, but for you, there should only be one Miss Duan. Is Gao Cuelon really Miss Duan? Xuanzang closed his eyes and recalled the last time he met Gao Cuelon. Every frown and smile was peeled away from the layer of fog. No expression was as clear as what he felt in his heart. Moreover, it's Miss Duan who hasn't lost her memory. She's just acting for me to see. Xuanzang took out a pair of brass knuckles. He had picked it up from a female puppet when he was subduing the pig demon in Gao Jia village. He didn't know why he kept it on him. What are you going to do? Zhuang Baifan saw Xuanzang's face suddenly become firm as he ran in the direction of the wedding procession. Chen Xuanzang's voice came from afar. Find Miss Duan and kill the pig demon. Didn't you say you would let go of your prejudice against the pig demon's appearance? Didn't you say you were going to bet with the Monkey King? Zhuang Baifan shouted from behind. But that doesn't stop me from killing it. Chen Xuanzang cursed. How dare it touch my woman? Even if it touches a finger, I will beat it to death. That's too violent. Zhuang Baifan sighed. He doesn't look like a person who is about to become a monk. At the wedding venue, gongs and drums could be heard. The Zhu family's pig farm was decorated with red ribbons. Zhu Ganglai wore a big red flower and a groom's outfit. He stood in the middle of the hall. A matchmaker who looked like the four aunties hired by Mr. Emptiness, but she had all the characteristics of the four aunties. She led Gao Cuelon, who was wearing a red veil, into the hall. Boss, we'll have to pay more for the extra scenes later, the matchmaker said to Magician. The bride snatching scene later is the same as the wedding scene. Magician bargained. How about this? I'll give you an extra drumstick for your lunch tonight. If you keep arguing, you won't even get a drumstick. Mr. Emptiness won't hire you anymore. Why? Because you keep adding scenes without his permission, making him lose face. Drama queen. Stop nagging. Magician turned his head and said, Can't you show some respect to the light? Can you shine it on the bride? Aren't you afraid of having nightmares if it shines on the groom? There are so many extras here. Are you going to pay for their psychological damages? Why isn't the male lead here yet? Magician was puzzled. Is Xiao Zhuang late again? The dark night of the soul has to start 3 minutes after the plot reaches its lowest point, okay? He dragged the scene for so long. He must have added more lines on his own. Get ready for the wedding ceremony. Magician shouted at the matchmaker. Stingy bastard. As the matchmaker cursed under her breath, the sound of the Suona began to play. In the midst of the bustling atmosphere, Gao Cuelon, played by Miss Duan, took small steps down from the sedan chair. The matchmaker used a piece of red satin to hold her hand as she walked towards Zhu Ganglai, who had been waiting for a long time. The surrounding actors held their breath. At that moment, Magician's long-awaited voice finally rang. Wait. Gao Cuelon turned around in surprise. The red veil on her head fluttered with the wind. Indeed, Chen Xuanzang barged in from the main door. He held his brass knuckles and rushed to the hall. Wait. Chen Xuanzang looked at Gao Cuelon and asked in a low voice, Is that you? Gao Cuelon revealed a bright smile. It's me. Chen Xuanzang grabbed Miss Duan's hand, pushed the matchmaker away, and rushed outside. At that moment, Zhu Ganglai suddenly grabbed Gao Cuelon's hand. Just as the audience was about to witness a passionate wedding, Zhu Ganglai pulled Gao Cuelon back bit by bit. Little by little, Zhu Ganglai pulled Gao Cuelon back. Chen Xuanzang couldn't resist his astonishing strength. He grabbed Gao Cuelon's hand and was dragged back to the hall. Zhu Ganglai grabbed their hands that were holding each other's hands and separated them with a pull of their hands. Gao Cuelon, no, Miss Duan was furious. She channeled her qi into her body and circulated it with her strength. She forcefully gathered her true qi and was about to teach Zhu Ganglai a lesson. Chen Xuanzang was afraid that she would kill the pig demon and provoke its demonic nature, so he quickly stopped her. Don't. At that moment, Zhu Ganglai suddenly let go of Miss Duan's hand, but he still held on to Chen Xuanzang. He finally looked into Chen Xuanzang's eyes and said in a low voice, "You're here." Gao Zuilan, Miss Duan, was stunned. Chen Xuanzang didn't know what to do. Zhu Ganglai grabbed Chen Xuanzang's arm and pulled him into his embrace. The erratic flying hoop in Miss Duan's hand suddenly fell into the dust, startling the crowd. Zhu Ganglai was also startled as he turned around to take a look. She spoke incoherently. "I'm sorry I accidentally disturbed you guys. Why don't I dare to look you in the eye? It's because I'm afraid that you'll see the 3 words in my eyes." Zhu Ganga's gaze was like this. "I love you." His passionate gaze caused Chen Xuanzang's entire body to feel uncomfortable and incomparably terrified. Magician laughed from behind and said, "Gao Zuilan, must it be Gao Zuilan? Gao Zuilan can be Miss Duan, so why can't Chen Xuanzang be Gao Zuilan? Zhuang Baifan isn't Zhuang Baifan, and Magician isn't Magician. Of course, Chen Xuanzang isn't Chen Xuanzang either. That's right, you're Gao Zuilan. You're the one the pig demon loves. You're the one dancing under the moonlight. As for Miss Duan, although she's called Gao Zuilan, she's actually the adulterer. How about it, Chen Xuanzang? I, old son, still lied to you. Now I'll let you know who you love, and I'll let her know that you love her. So, next, it's your turn to choose. You can tell yourself that you won't sacrifice other innocent people. You won't sacrifice Miss Duan. Right now, Miss Duan doesn't need to be sacrificed, only you. Admit it. You're just not willing to sacrifice. You're just prejudiced. Miss Duan isn't an excuse. Love isn't an excuse either. You're just selfish." Chen Xuanzang's body stiffened. He looked at Zhu Ganglia's affectionate but incomparably ugly face. He was momentarily dazed. Magician had turned into Monkey King. He smiled and said, "I know you dare to make a choice. Between saving the pig demon and Miss Duan, you didn't even need to think to make a choice. This kind of choice isn't what I want. What I want is the choice to dig out the ugliness in your heart. I won't let you be the adulterer because Miss Duan is innocent. Now I'll let you be Gao Zuilan. Tell me, will you pursue your love, or will you endure this ugly monster? What appearance isn't important? What's seeing through the surface? I want you to admit that you're selfish. You're just like Gao Zuilan. You value appearance. I don't value appearance, but I'm a man." Chen Xuanzang roared. "Gender isn't important either." Monkey King waved his hand. Chapter 990. Xian Zhang's eyes were confused for a moment, but when he looked back and saw Zhu Ganglia's honor, he still became firm. He turned to Zhu Ganglai and said, "Mr. Sun, a melon that is forcibly picked is not sweet. A forced love and marriage are not happy." Monkey King sighed, "So you don't want to go to hell. Now, let's rethink the case of the pig demon." Chen Xuanzang shook off Zhu Ganglia's hand and said to everyone, "Let's look at this tragedy again. Mr. Zhu wasn't wrong. Actually, Miss Gao wasn't wrong to dislike Mr. Zhu. What was wrong was that she used the wrong method to solve their problem. So, I think, in the end, you just don't want to sacrifice your life for the sake of all living beings." Monkey King said. "If I want to reason with you, why would I look for you?" Monkey King asked in surprise. "I'll go to the government. Sentence the adulterer and adulterer to be executed, then kill the pig demon to pay for the lives of the innocent. You are a Mahayana disciple, you need to go through hardships, laws, and human relationship. Why would I need you here?" "Mr. Sun, that's not what you said," Xuanzang explained. "Then you can reason with Zhu Ganglai yourself," Monkey King said and shook his head, wanting to leave. "Mr. Sun, don't go. Let's think of a way to solve the problem perfectly." Xuanzang quickly stopped him. Then you can act as Gout Suelon and reform it. Monkey King pointed at the pig demon and said, Zhu Ganglai loves Gout Suelon deeply. He's just looking for a possibility for him and Gout Suelon to be happy. You can't even fulfill his wish, and you dare to say that you want to reform it? Xuanzang was speechless and said with tears in his eyes, But I don't have to sacrifice my chastity. Do you know what's the biggest difference between Buddhism and Dharma? Monkey King said calmly, Dharma needs justice, while Buddhism needs compassion. Compassion requires sacrifice and self-sacrifice. How can I save all living beings if I don't give up? Is my test very difficult? But in this world, there are choices that are thousands of times more difficult than this. The greater the wish of the Buddha, the greater the responsibility. Today, you're in a dilemma because you're only giving up a little of your own. How can Buddha make a choice on behalf of all living beings? I'm standing up against Buddha today, not because I'm naturally against it, but because it promises too many things, but doesn't dare to make choices for all living beings. Between the eagle and the dove, it did not dare to choose, so it sacrificed itself and cut off its flesh to feed the eagle. It didn't dare to choose between love and the law, so it came out to cultivate. Even between its homeland, Sakya, and the mortal world, it didn't dare to choose. It just watched the destruction of Sakya. All living beings have all kinds of sufferings. As a bystander who hides from the world, don't boast so much. The only thing he could do to deliver all living beings from suffering was to sacrifice himself. Now you don't even dare to sacrifice yourself? My worries are gone, and the world of mortals is far away. Little monk, you still don't understand why Buddha wants his followers to become monks. It's because you can't bear the troubles of the mortal world, so you can only escape. From what I see, this Buddhist doctrine is just a sentence. The Monkey King smiled disdainfully. Escaping is shameful, but it's useful. You don't even dare to say the first half of the sentence. Your master only told you that escaping is useful, but he didn't tell you that escaping is shameful. I've seen too many people escaping from my master. Although they escaped the sufferings of the mortal world, they lost too many possibilities and became walking corpses. Chen Xuanzang, you've been learning to be a walking corpse. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas on Spirited Mountain are also walking corpses. Chen Xuanzang, although you keep saying that you want to deliver all living beings from suffering, you've actually been escaping. You're escaping from your relationship with Miss Duan, and you're also escaping from the true sufferings of all living beings. You're even escaping from the method to save all living beings. Do you think you can save all living beings with those lousy books from India? What a joke. Buddha didn't escape. Chen Xuanzang stood up and said loudly, he just avoided sacrificing too much. He's always using his own method to save all living beings. That's exactly escaping. The Monkey King sighed and said, my master is a merciless person, but he's never escaped from his position. He's always creating and choosing according to his own will. Bodhisattvas fear karma and mortals fear karma. Actually, in my opinion, there's no difference between bodhisattvas and mortals. Bodhisattvas are just mortals with great magic power. You're not a Buddha and you're not a bodhisattva. How can you understand the great love behind their fear? They have great magic power, but they've always avoided using it to do whatever they want like you. This isn't fear, it's true compassion for all living beings who have no choice. Chen Xuanzang said sternly. The Monkey King smiled and said, no matter what you say, Chen Xuanzang, you still have to make a choice. Show me. The Monkey King slowly grew a lianhua. He smiled and sat cross-legged on the lianhua, looking at Chen Xuanzang. Chen Xuanzang's lips trembled, and he instinctively formed a cross with his hands. He fell into a difficult choice. Miss Duan looked at Chen Xuanzang, who was in extreme pain, and her heart ached. She said to the Monkey King, let him go. I don't want to ask that question any more. The Monkey King said, I'm teaching him to face it. A person can't always escape. Do you think he'll feel at ease if you let him continue to escape? Escape from his feelings for you, escape from his fate? There will come a time when he has no choice but to face it. But by then, it'll be too late. At this moment, tears of humiliation flowed down from Chen Xuanzang's eyes. He choked and said, "I'm willing." Willing to what? The Monkey King asked coldly. Xuanzang lowered his head even more and then raised it again. Tears rolled down from the corner of his eyes as he said, "I'm willing to be Gout Suilan and bear her pain." "All right, go." The Monkey King pointed at Zhu Ganglai. Looking at Zhu Gonglia's bloody mouth, thick black hair, and saliva dripping down from his mouth, Xuanzang's determination was blown away like a small sapling in a storm. He closed his eyes and said with difficulty, "Can Mr. Sun turn me into Gout Suilan?" The Monkey King sighed, "Xuanzang, your comprehension is still too low. Your body is just a facade, and everything else is just an illusion. That's why I can't." "Thank you." Miss Duan couldn't bear to look back, but she heard Zhu Ganglai smiling at Xuanzang, "Suilan." She finally couldn't bear it anymore and said to the Monkey King, "Mr. Sun, I beg you, can you think of another way? Don't force him." Xuanzang walked towards Zhu Ganglai with difficulty, and shouted without turning back, "Don't beg him." Miss Duan couldn't help but cry. She bit her lower lip and blood seeped out. She clenched the amorphous flying hoop and suddenly shouted, "I can't take it any more." She pointed at Xuanzang and said, "Tell me, what other coquettish bitch wants to steal my man? You're my woman, not some random duck. Did I allow you to run away with a man as you please? Get back here." Xuanzang was stunned, but he heard Miss Duan yell, "Get back here, do you hear me?" Miss Duan clenched her fists and said to the Monkey King, "Look. You see, it's not a matter of choice or not, it's me getting my man back." She pointed at Zhu Ganglai and said, "This coquettish bitch wants to steal my man, and it doesn't even ask if I agree. If I don't agree, I'll beat it until it doesn't even dare to think about it." Xuanzang understood and shook his head. "No. This has nothing to do with you." Miss Duan had already walked down. "What do you mean it has nothing to do with me? Does it have nothing to do with me if it wants my man?" She pointed at Zhu Ganglai domineeringly and said, "I'll kill whoever dares to touch him." Xuanzang shook his head. "It has nothing to do with you. Go away." Cram. Miss Duan looked at him deeply and continued to say to Zhu Ganglai, "Look at you, you dare to have designs on him, do you think I'm easy to deal with?" Zhu Gonglia's eyes slowly turned cold, and Chen Xuanzang shook his head. "Scram. You're playing the role of the adulterer, and your provocation will only awaken the demon pig's demonic nature. If the scene of the adulterer killing the pig demon is repeated, Zhu Ganglai will become a demon again, and his hatred will burn even more. You'll only ruin my cultivation." "I don't know what cultivation is," Miss Duan said, "but I know you shouldn't be forced to this point. You're not its match." Xuanzang lowered his head and said, "I beg you, go away." When Miss Duan walked past him, he grabbed her. Miss Duan slowly and firmly pulled her hand out, and slowly walked past him. With her back facing him, she said, "I also know that you don't care about cultivation. If I make the choice for you, are you willing to leave a small corner in your heart for me?" Xuanzang's tears flowed down, and he shook his head repeatedly, but Miss Duan didn't care about his answer, and walked towards Zhu Ganglai without hesitation. When the amorphous flying hoop shot out from her hand, Chen Xuanzang watched in despair as the flying hoop hit Zhu Ganglai, and when Zhu Gonglia's body shattered, Zhu Gonglia's shadow slowly replaced him. A hideous monster, uglier than before, appeared in front of them. This time, it wasn't a pig demon, but a pig demon, because in the illusion, the awakened pig demon repeated the pain of being killed by the adulterer. In its own illusion, it would be 100, 1,000 times stronger than before. A 9-toothed harrow slowly appeared in the pig demon's hand. Xuanzang turned to Monkey King and said, "I've made my choice. Why is it still like this? Why can't I stop her, why? Monkey King, how long are you going to force me? What do you want me to do? Chapter 991. As the pig demon went berserk, the nine-toothed harrow left 9 deep marks on the ground. The entire Zhu family's piggery and Gao family village were lifted from the ground by the harrow. Everything was crushed and disintegrated in the pig demon's rage. Zhuang Baifen, Abe no Saimai, the Nordic burly man Mark, as well as the many servants and sedan bearers, faded away. Only Miss Duan, Chen Xuanzang, and the Lianhua that Monkey King was sitting on were left in this world. Within the Lianhua, Monkey King's figure looked like a Buddha. The unpredictable flying rings turned into golden rings that filled the sky. Every time they rotated, they brought with them a power that was 10 times stronger than before. This time, even Monkey King opened his eyes slightly and lamented. In the past, the unpredictable flying rings were used by heroine Sun Bailing as she wished. They could chase after souls and kill demons as easily as slaughtering chickens. If you could use the unpredictable flying rings to this level back then, the pig demon would have been eliminated long ago. Why would you come looking for me? Unfortunately, the pig demon today is no longer the pig demon of the past. There were thousands of unpredictable flying rings in the sky. As they rotated rapidly, they left behind countless rings that looked like clones of the unpredictable flying rings. The unpredictable flying rings shuttled through the sky, but none of them collided with each other. Finally, with Miss Duan's roar, all the unpredictable flying rings collided with each other along countless mysterious trajectories. Miss Duan kicked the flying rings that were shooting back at her back into the air. Those flying rings that were constantly colliding with each other contained a strange rotational force. When they collided with each other, not only did they not cause any resistance, but they were like 2 infinite spirals that were constantly borrowing force to surpass each other, borrowing force from each other to accelerate. This kind of wonderful hidden weapon had a wonderful structure. Coupled with Miss Duan's technique that was like an antelope hanging its horns, the speed of the flying rings had increased to a terrifying level. Goku secretly calculated that it was almost 6 times the speed of sound. As Miss Duan changed her technique, the golden rings began to shoot towards the pig demon one after another. It wasn't as if the boar demon had never dealt with flying hoops before. The 9-toothed rake in his hand spun rapidly, knocking away the flying hoops that were flying at him. However, this time was different. After the flying hoops were knocked away by the boar demon cleverly used the force of his attack to increase its power to a terrifying degree through continuous collisions. Every bit of the pig demon's counterattack was like a spring that exerted a pressure that was hundreds of times greater than normal, accumulating even more terrifying power and increasing the speed of the flying rings. The flying hoop that it swung away came back from a different angle, heading straight for the boar demon's vitals. In this situation, Xuanzang seemed to gain some confidence. He stared at the valiant and formidable Miss Duan without blinking. The flying ring formation in the sky sped up, as if subduing the pig demon was right in front of them. However, the Monkey King shook his head regretfully. As expected, as the boar demon's gaze turned serious, the 9-toothed rake suddenly transformed into a sky full of phantoms. It went around, swept, grabbed, or scratched at the flying ring formation in the sky. Even though the flying ring's speed increased to 9 times the speed of sound, they were still pierced by the boar demon's rake teeth. The 9 rake teeth were pierced through by the golden rings, and they were still vibrating at high speed. Zhu Ganglai trembled slightly, and all the golden rings shot back towards Miss Duan. With a thought, the ring phantoms in the sky dissipated, leaving only the golden ring that returned to her hand. However, how could Zhu Gonglia's attack be so simple? The moment Miss Duan's hand touched the golden ring, the hidden force that Zhu Ganglai left in the golden ring suddenly erupted. The golden ring smashed into Miss Duan's right arm, sending bone fragments flying and blood spraying everywhere. Flesh and blood were so weak. Miss Duan flew back, Her arm twisted like a fried dough twist. Chen Xuanzang was so shocked by this turn of events that he lost his ability to speak. He looked at Miss Duan's figure struggling to stand up. His eyes were already so blurry that he couldn't see them anymore. He roared, "I admit defeat. Monkey King, I admit defeat. Let her go." However, the Monkey King said, "To subdue demons, one must first subdue one's heart. If the heart submits, the demons will retreat. As long as she wants to, she can withdraw from the illusory realm with a thought. As long as you are willing, you can also leave this place at any time. It's not that I don't want to let her go, it's that she doesn't want to leave. It's because she doesn't want to subdue her heart." Xuanzang turned to Miss Duan and said, "Why do you still want to stay here? If you withdraw from the illusory realm, we still have a chance. If you withdraw, then no one will be able to control the pig demon. It will be 100 times more ferocious than it is now, and the number of deaths it causes will be 100 times more. You will feel guilty, you will regret it, and your heart will never be at peace. I will also feel guilty and regret. I made the choice to turn the pig demon into a demon, so I should bear all the consequences." Miss Duan said loudly, "I won't run." Ah! The unpredictable flying rings flew out of her hand again, and along with Miss Duan's angry roar, they flew towards the pig demon. The pig demon just waved its rake and hit the flying rings back. It still hit Miss Duan, and there was another crisp sound of bones breaking. Miss Duan spat out a mouthful of blood, and she fell to the ground again. "It's useless even if you stay." Xuanzang's heart was already aching, and he begged, "Hurry up and leave. I still have a way." "Monkey King, I beg you." Xuanzang knelt to the Monkey King and said, "I beg you. Let her go. Let her go." The increasingly solemn Monkey King looked at the kneeling Chen Xuanzang, and a complicated look appeared in his eyes. "You are not like him after all. Even if he was reduced to ashes and crushed to pieces, he still wouldn't beg me. But Master said you are him. I am really in a dilemma." He said again, "Your way is to beg me." He pointed at the moon in the illusory realm and said, "Why not beg Buddha? Stand up. Don't beg him." Miss Duan shouted, "He is the king of demons, and he has a heart of stone. The more you beg him, the happier he will be. He just wants to torture you." While coughing blood and screaming, Miss Duan still stood up. The Monkey King sighed, "She is right. You shouldn't beg me because it's useless." He knows that begging for help is useless. He only knows how to beg Buddha, not me. On the other side, the pig demon's rake stabbed towards Miss Duan, and the 9 sharp teeth pierced through her body and came out from her back. The teeth that pierced through her internal organs took away her last bit of strength, and she knelt on the ground powerlessly. Xuanzang crawled towards her, and for some reason, the pig demon watched as Xuanzang crawled in front of him. "Leave." Xuanzang pressed on Miss Duan's wound and said, "You have tried your best. Get out. I beg you." Because of the blood loss, Miss Duan's face was as white as the moon in the sky. Exhaustion washed over her like a tide, and her internal organs were in great pain, but she refused to close her eyes. She looked at Xuanzang and said, "Your eyes are so beautiful. Unfortunately, it never smiles at me. But I know it is telling me, I love you. I have confirmed it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, it is telling me this, but I still want to hear it from you." Xuanzang held her in his arms and said shakily, "I love you." But before he could say anything, the person in his arms had already closed her eyes. Xuanzang's heart ached, and he cried ugly. He looked at Miss Duan, who had closed her eyes. In the end, she only had time to raise her head slightly. Xuanzang knew what she meant, and for the first time, he kissed her without hesitation, but the lips of the beauty in his arms were already cold. "Ah!" Xuanzang screamed to the sky. Looking at the pig demon in front of him, he suddenly didn't know how to hate it. Hate the pig demon? In fact, it was just an innocent demon heart that was provoked. Hate the Monkey King? But it didn't seem like it was the Monkey King who forced them to this point. The Monkey King had always given them a chance. Hate himself? But Xuanzang's heart was so tired that he couldn't hate anymore. He couldn't love anymore. As Xuanzang's last teardrop fell to the ground, Zhu Ganga looked at that teardrop in a daze, and suddenly said in a low voice, "What I really want is that I am willing to die for her, and she is also willing to die for me. If that's the case, why should I hate?" After saying that, the demon heart suddenly dissipated. He had finally reformed the pig demon. With a real and painful teardrop. Chapter 992. Xuanzang sat under the moonlight with Miss Duan in his arms. The group of reincarnators looked confused, not understanding what was happening. Magician carefully approached and asked, "Mr. Chen?" He waved his hand in front of Xuanzang's eyes and asked carefully, "What happened in the pig demon's illusion?" "We were all tricked by Monkey King into another part of the pig demon's memory." This Miss Duan. Among the reincarnators, Zhuang Baifan whispered to Ramal Khan, "Things are out of control. No matter what magician's plan is, it's gone. Be careful not to fall into his trap." Ramal Khan replied softly, "How can you tell? Magician still looks very confident. He doesn't look like he's completely out of control." "Miss Duan is dead." Zhuang Baifan sneered. "Look at Xuanzang. He's obviously going to achieve enlightenment. It's normal for Miss Duan to die." Ramal Khan was confused. "Didn't we analyze it before? Xuanzang is definitely going to kill a woman. He's just going to die faster this time. Because of the butterfly effect caused by the reincarnators, it's normal for the plot to deviate." Abe joined in. "The Exorcist's plot isn't that far off. We've experienced much more exaggerated plots in the past. At least we're still following the main plot." "The plot?" Zhuang Baifan sneered. "How many of us don't know the plot?" Zhuang Baifan pointed at Chen Xuanzang and Monkey King. "Think about it. Do we know as much as these characters? Let's count. Chen Xuanzang already knows his mission, or rather, his destiny, is to obtain the scriptures. He even knows that he's the reincarnation of Golden Cicada, a setting that has never appeared in The Exorcist. There's no need to talk about Monkey King. Look at it, it seems to know everything. A monkey that knows that Buddha wants him to obtain the scriptures and wants him to become Chen Xuanzang's disciple. He even knows the backgrounds of Zhu Ganglai and Sha Wujing. How do you plan to get him to obtain the scriptures? Do you want it to go on a killing spree like in the original plot?" Zhuang Baifan sneered. "In my opinion, whether or not the seal is still there is a problem." "That's right." Ramal Khan suddenly realized. "This monkey is quite amazing. Now we have lost all control over the plot's development factors. In this world, we are not as clear as Chen Xuanzang about the power of the exorcists and the secular background of the Tang Empire. We don't understand the relationship between the immortals and Buddhas as well as the Monkey King. After losing the only main storyline that we know, do you think that we don't know as much as these plot characters? Now that the plot has developed this way, do you think it's still in our hands?" Zhuang Baifan took out a cigarette, lit it for himself, and analyzed calmly. Ramal Khan broke out in a cold sweat and said in horror, "Magician has lost control of the situation. Right now, the entire situation is under the control of one party. How the plot will develop from now on will be completely determined by that party alone," Zhuang Baifan said calmly. "Then, who is he?" Abe cleverly played the supporting role. Zhuang Baifan pointed at the Monkey King. "Of course it's Monkey King. Think about it calmly. Who is the strongest here, who knows the most, and who has been controlling the development of the situation from the beginning to the end? Who is toying with us and Chen Xuanzang in the palm of their hands? Who made Chen Xuanzang's woman die so easily? Who is controlling the illusion?" "It's all Monkey King," Ramal Khan said in horror. "Then why does magician still dare to plot with a tiger?" After Ramal Khan came to his senses, He broke out in a cold sweat and felt a lingering fear. He asked, "Doesn't he know that the Monkey King has already become a huge variable? He can't back down now," Zhuang Baifeng said gloatingly. "After investing so much, he can't afford to lose anymore. For us reincarnators, sometimes it's necessary to gamble, but if we can't afford to lose, then it's no different from losing. Who is the reincarnator?" Hans also came over and sighed. "The Monkey King is indeed sinister and cunning, as expected of the King of Demons. Now, we don't even have the confidence to use the Buddha's seal. Originally, we thought that as long as we knew the key to the seal was Lianhua, we would be able to control the Monkey King. But now, it seems that we were wrong. Now, I can't be sure if Lianhua is the key anymore. There's still another key," Zhuang Baifeng reminded. "We thought that the two keys to control the Monkey King were the Lianhua seal and the Vairocana Sutra. Originally, as long as we gave the Vairocana Sutra to Chen Xuanzang at the crucial moment, he could use the Buddha's palm to suppress the Monkey King. But now, the key to forcing Chen Xuanzang to use the Buddha's palm, Miss Duan, is dead." Zhuang Baifeng glanced at Chen Xuanzang, who was standing not far from him, and sighed. "Chen Xuanzang still looks as if he has no fighting spirit at all. I wonder how Sun Wukong managed to scheme and kill Miss Duan. With his current state, it's hard to say if he can even use the Buddha's palm." "Got it." Magician walked to the center of the reincarnators with a gloomy face. Miss Duan died while trying to reform the pig demon. She was beaten to death by the demonized pig demon. Then why did the pig demon demonize? Perfected Hans asked. Magician was speechless. It was forced by Miss Duan to demonize. Why did Miss Duan force the pig demon to demonize? Hans was still puzzled. Magician was even more speechless. It was to force Chen Xuanzang to face his feelings, and also to prevent him from sacrificing himself for the pig demon. The Monkey King really cleaned himself up. Abe sighed emotionally. This kind of ability to scheme against people silently, if Sun Wukong had this kind of emotional intelligence, why would he have fallen out with the heavenly court and been suppressed by Rulai? Maybe he reflected on himself for the past 500 years. Zhuang Baifeng changed the topic. In other words, that dead woman didn't help Xuanzang achieve enlightenment as Buddha had hoped, but made him fall into self-blame and confusion? Zhuang Baifeng stroked his chin and said, "Then, if everything goes according to Buddha's wishes, how will he enlighten Chen Xuanzang?" At this time, Xuanzang walked over with Miss Duan in his arms. "Exorcist seniors, I have subdued the pig demon. He has voluntarily become my disciple to learn how to love and be loved, from small love to great love. My goal in coming here has been achieved. Now I plan to go back and ask Master some questions. I hope she can answer my doubts. At the same time, I want to find a good place for my wife to be buried. Let's bid farewell here." "Wait." Magician didn't expect Xuanzang to end things like this. "Mr. Chen, have you given up on converting the King of Demons, the Monkey King, to fulfill Miss Duan's last wish and your exorcism philosophy?" Chen Xuanzang put his palms together. "My cultivation is still too shallow. I haven't truly understood the essence of Buddhism. For me now, I still need to polish my exorcism philosophy. The King of Demons, the Monkey King, is too powerful and has fallen too deeply into the devil. His magic power is strong and his anti-Buddhist theory is perfect. I personally feel that he isn't someone I can convert now. So, I've decided to go back and learn from Master. One day, I will be able to understand the Monkey King's evil nature and pull out his poisonous fangs, like how I treated that poisonous snake. But now, I can't save Sun Wukong. There's nothing I can do. That's it. I'm leaving." Magician said anxiously, "Mr. Chen, are you willing to leave without trying?" Xuanzang said, "There's no need to try. I'm afraid I'll be bewitched by him if I try again." Xuanzang didn't turn around. "Sometimes I'm afraid I'll believe him and ask Master who he is." "Who am I?" When I find out the truth, maybe I'll become what the Monkey King wants me to be. In this world, who doesn't have evil in their hearts? Xuanzang said sadly. Maybe like Buddha, the devil is in our hearts too. Magician wanted to say something but was stopped by Xuanzang. Senior, don't try to persuade me anymore. Let me ask you a question. We all know why the fish and pig demons became demons. But do any of you know why Sun Wukong became a demon? If we don't even know where his evil nature is, how are we supposed to convert him? If we want to remove the evil nature, we need to know where its poisonous fangs are. Chapter 993. Xuanzang tied the luggage to his body. When he picked up Miss Duan's body, a book suddenly slipped from her arms. Xuanzang was stunned for a moment. He picked up the familiar yellow songbook from the ground. He saw that the songbook that had been put back together was tattered, and the different pieces were haphazardly pieced together. Touching the ragged cover of the songbook, he seemed to see Miss Duan, who was illiterate, piecing it together bit by bit under the moonlight during the day and at night. A few drops of water fell silently, wetting the songbook. He didn't see the samsara travelers behind him looking at the songbook with unknown intentions. He carefully put the songbook in his arms, carried Miss Duan, and turned to leave. He tied Miss Duan on his back and carried her down the Five-Finger Mountain. It was another mountain crossing. This time it was even more difficult. Xuanzang buried Miss Duan in front of the nameless old temple. Facing the vast Buddha, he returned to the city. When he arrived in front of the dilapidated wall, there were indeed a few more paintings that were still wet with ink. It was a monkey carrying a stick, its face sinister, baring its teeth, standing tall in the clouds, looking down on the indistinct figures of the heavenly deities in the distance. There was another painting, but it was a painting of a beautiful island in the middle of the ocean, a spiritualism immortal stone. One was an ignorant monkey mixed in with a group of monkeys, one was a divine monkey with phoenix wings and a crown, and one was a lawless and violent demon monkey. Xuanzang was lost in thought. Master, is this the Monkey King? In front of him, the fat monk who was painting on the wall put down his brush. He turned around and said, Yes, this is the King of Demons, the Monkey King. Xuanzang, did you gain anything from meeting him? I gained a lot. Xuanzang said, with his help, I reformed the fish demon and the pig demon. I took them as my disciples. There were 2 less demons in the world, and 2 more people who sincerely atone for their sins. At the same time, I also understood my feelings. I met someone I really liked. I loved, I felt pain, I was stubborn, I was enlightened, and I lost her in the end. You didn't fail this time. How is it? Do you understand the true power behind the 300 nursery songs? The fat monk smiled. Xuanzang said sadly, Yes, I didn't fail this time. However, the price of success is too cruel. He suddenly burst into tears. If I could, I would rather start all over again. Why? Master, why? Why can't I do anything about it? Why can't I help it? Why do I have to pay such a price for the people I love? Is it that only when one's heart is dead that they won't hurt others? Master! He raised his head, looked at the big monk with messy hair, and said painfully, Can I ask you a question? I know. The big monk sighed and said, I have loved. That's not the problem, Master. Xuanzang wanted to explain, but the fat monk interrupted him. Got it, protect the big one. Master, stop fooling around. Save my mother. Grandmaster passed away a long time ago. Nope. In the end, Xuanzang said weakly, Master, I'm talking to you about something serious. I'm also answering you seriously. The fat monk put his palms together and sighed. I don't regret it. Xuanzang looked at him with a strange look and said numbly, Do you know what I'm asking, Master? The fat monk smiled and said, The answer is not important, the process is important. Ask yourself, do you really need my answer? Or do you already have the answer in your heart when you ask? Xuanzang couldn't help but hit his head against the wall and said painfully, I know what I'm lacking, but Master, I can't do it. I really can't do it. I can't make a choice, I don't dare to face it. I can't bear the heavy responsibility of obtaining the scriptures. Master, your disciple is unfilial. You chose the wrong person. The fat monk helped him up and comforted him. No, Master didn't choose the wrong person, you're just lacking a little bit. The fat monk pointed at the mural and said, Sun Wukong's original name was Ji Zun Bao. He was a bandit king. He offended a demoness called Chun Shizaniang, the one who lost her head when she fell in love with him. Because of that, the bandits were slaughtered. He fell in love with a woman called Bai Jingjing, the junior sister of Chun Shizaniang. The demoness Bai Jingjing took him back to their lair, the cave where Lady Chun and Bai Jingjing's master, great deity Pan Si, lived. By a freak combination of factors, great deity Pan Si thought that Ji Zun Bao and she were destined to be together. In other words, they were engaged. But Ji Zun Bao thought that he liked Bai Jingjing. A battle between master and disciple was about to unfold. In the end, in order to find Bai Jingjing, Ji Zun Bao lied to great deity Pan Si and let her fall into the hands of another bandit, the great sage who pacifies the heavens, Bull Demon King. At the last moment, Bai Jingjing finally let Ji Zun Bao know who he really liked, but it was too late. Lady Chun found them and killed both Ji Zun Bao and Bai Jingjing. In order to save great deity Pan Si, Ji Zun Bao swore in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva that he would protect the Sutra Seeker for the rest of his life. Finally, he was resurrected and became a demon with magical power, Monkey King. But in the end, Monkey King still couldn't save great deity Pan Si, and she died in his arms. Because of the oath, he had a splitting headache, and let his lover's body slip into the sea of fire, turning into ashes. In this extreme anger and resentment, he killed Bull Demon King and reincarnated as a demon. In the end, he decided to betray his oath and seek revenge from Guanyin Bodhisattva. He became a demon with boundless magical power. That was the king of demons, Monkey King. No wonder he hated me so much, Xuanzang said in a daze. Could it be that the Sutra Seeker he wanted to protect was me? The fat monk nodded and said, Yes, it was you. What an ill-fated relationship. Xuanzang sighed and said, So, is this the source of Monkey King's demonic nature? He became a demon because of my son and committed countless sins. He also made me feel the pain of losing a loved one. Did he want me to understand his grief and helplessness that day? The fat monk sighed and said, Yes. He became a demon because of you, so you also lost your loved one because of him. In the end, he still needed you to enlighten the demonic nature in his heart. But his demonic nature is very deep, and he understands everything. Xuanzang shook his head and said, He's not easy to fool. I mean, enlighten. Yes, demons are afraid of meeting those who understand everything. The fat monk smiled and said, But fortunately, he was sealed in the Five Fingers Mountain, so you have a chance. But be careful of his cunning. The fat monk turned around and saw Xuanzang looking at him suspiciously. He scolded, Why are you looking at me like that? Xuanzang asked, Master, I'm thinking, is the Monkey King really sealed? Of course, you went to see him. If he wasn't sealed, why would he be so obedient? The fat monk replied, The seal won't be broken? Xuanzang was still a little doubtful. The fat monk waved his hand and said, That seal was personally suppressed by Buddha, how can it be broken? It won't. It can't even hurt an ant there. It's very harmless. If he was dangerous, why would I let you go find him? Xuanzang questioned, but I saw with my own eyes that he beat an exorcist to death. So cruel. Is that so? The fat monk didn't dare to look Xuanzang in the eyes and turned his head as if nothing had happened. Xuanzang's eyes were bright and he said, I saw it with my own eyes, it's very reliable. Then the seal must have loosened. The fat monk sighed and said, It's been 500 years. It's already the new year in the heavenly court. Is it normal for the seal to be loosened? Xuanzang was still doubtful and he asked, I mean, was the Monkey King really sealed by Buddha because of his many evil deeds? Could it be that it was just a civil settlement, and then he was compensated with a 5-finger mountain cave or something? Who said that? The fat monk jumped up as if his tail had been stepped on. His expression changed drastically and he said, There's no such thing. The demon monkey was born in Aulai Nation's Mount Huagua and what not, it's all a rumor. Guanyin Bodhisattva's Mount Putua in the South Sea is definitely not Mount Huagua. Xuanzang, you have to show evidence, he said sinisterly. Master, this has nothing to do with me, Xuanzang said. I'm just asking, is it really sealed? What's the key to the seal? Of course it's sealed. Back then, Buddha personally used the Vairocana Sutra to strike it down from the sky. His 5 fingers formed a mountain and suppressed it there. It's true, absolutely true, there's no falsehood. The fat monk replied without turning his head. There was a trace of anxiety in his tone. Where's the key to the seal? It's the lianhua at the entrance of the cave. Remember, no matter what, do not pull out that lianhua. The fat monk pushed him out as he said, What about the matter of reforming Sun Wukong and saving the world? I'll leave it to you. Don't let Master down, go. Don't let the Monkey King wait too long. He pushed Xuanzang out and waved his hand. Go quickly. Master, why didn't you say so earlier? Xuanzang continued to chatter. Why didn't you say so last time? Such an important thing, why didn't you say it last time? Master. Xuanzang's head was hit by a shoe, and seeing that the fat monk had already taken off his second shoe, Xuanzang could only run away. Magician looked at Xuanzang and said solemnly, Is it like this? Xuanzang nodded, Yes, it is like this. The Monkey King became a demon because of this. Now, with my master's guidance, we have finally found a way to reform him. That's why I want to borrow your demon-revealing mirror, so that the Monkey King can go back in time and unravel the source of everything. Zhuang Baifan was already numb. He murmured, Joker, by Jingjing Zixia Fairy. No, it's the great deity of silk. Why does the plot sound so familiar? Make a wish to Guanyin Bodhisattva to become a demon and save Zixia Fairy. Abe's face stiffened. That's F*King possible? It's a circle. So, Journey to the West Conquers the Demons is actually the sequel to Journey to the West. Hans said. That makes sense. Viking Mark said, It's the same director and the same theme, there's no problem. Chapter 994. At the foot of the 5 Fingers Mountain, the sun was setting. Monkey King scooped up a durian and crawled out of the cave lazily. He sat on a rock at the entrance of the cave and leaned against the lianhua. He placed the durian in front of him and split it open with his hands. Then, he ate the durian while squinting his eyes to bask in the sun. His monkey fur had become knotted because he hadn't taken care of it for a long time. Monkey King touched it casually. His claws seemed to have regained their ability when he was at the mountain of flowers and fruits. They were very agile. He could catch a lice with just a touch and pinch it to death. Then, he spread the lice on his right hand and counted. 1, 2, 3, 10. He didn't look like Monkey King now. Instead, he looked like an unknown wild monkey in the countryside. Yo! Is the great sage equaling heaven trying to catch lice for himself? The tiger form fist style sneered at Wukong. Nothing seemed to have changed since Xuanzang came to the 5 Fingers Mountain. But in fact, the influence he had caused had already spread. Originally, no one had been able to find Sun Wukong, so the title of the fiendish demon king did not bring much to the world of exorcists. But now, the news of the fiendish demon king Sun Wukong's appearance had alarmed countless exorcists. This wild monkey is the great sage, heaven's equal? A burly man said in a rough voice. He looked at Monkey King for a long time and sneered. How can he kill heaven cripple legs? Tiger form fist, are you lying to us? Another white-faced scholar looked at Monkey King for a while, and clicked his tongue. Doesn't look like it, doesn't look like it. He doesn't look domineering at all. Who would believe that we killed him? I've asked around. This is the Five Fingers Mountain, and he's Monkey King. Don't be fooled by his listless look now. When he killed Heaven Crippleleggs, he was so cool. Tiger form fist hurriedly explained. If we kill him, we will be the #1 exorcist. Don't stand on ceremony. Hey! The muscular man said impolitely, Are you Monkey King? Sun Wukong lazily turned around and said, I'm the great sage, heaven's equal, Sun Wukong. People would believe you if you said you were a wild monkey from the countryside. Who would believe you if you said you were the king of demons, the Monkey King? The dark-skinned burly man impatiently turned his head around and said, Do you want to groom it? Otherwise, people will say that we casually caught a monkey and claimed it to be the king of demons. We will be laughed at by the world. Monkey King pointed at the surroundings helplessly. Stop talking about Monkey King. If Buddha Tathagata were to live here for 500 years, he would also be a Hindustani. You can't just look at the surface. How about this? The tiger form fist suddenly shook out an armor from the side. It was a dazzling golden chainmail, a pair of Chong An's new lotus silk cloud walking boots, and a purple gold crown with 2 pheasant feathers. It was the armor of the great sage equaling heaven that had been passed down for a long time. The tiger form fist said, Luckily, I came prepared. You can wear this and fight with us. Monkey King turned around and suddenly touched the material. He pouted and said, This is a golden chainmail. The weight of the gold is not right and the weave is very rough. One look and you can tell that it is the work of a village blacksmith. Even the gilding is not good. Fail. The design of the lotus silk cloud walking boots is too ugly. It is made of low-quality silk. If you touch it, it will be torn. Fail. Damn. Phoenix wings purple gold crown. It is fine if the phoenix wings are made of chicken feathers, but the chicken droppings are still there. Monkey King pointed at the yellow spots on the feathers and moved closer to Tiger Form Fist and said, What about purple gold? Who are you trying to fool with purple copper? Tiger Form Fist lowered his head in shame. Monkey King pointed at his nose and said with disdain, I, old son, collected the treasures of the Dragon Kings of the 4 Seas. The Dragon Kings of the 4 Seas are extremely wealthy, and that is why they could take out that set. Who are you trying to fool with this low-quality imitation from Chang'an? This golden armor is like a nouveau riche. The pheasant feathers are crooked, and the lotus silk cloud walking boots are torn. In comparison, my outfit can be said to be simple, low-key, and sophisticated. And this golden cudgel. Monkey King snatched the golden cudgel from Tiger Form Fist and threw it on the ground. He pointed at it and said, Call out to it. Do you think it will dare to answer? It is just a stupid toy made of broken iron. Who are you trying to fool? Monkey King asked. The 3 exorcists lowered their heads in shame. Monkey King sighed and said, Where is your sincerity? When you came here, you first looked at me with disdain. What's wrong with me picking lice? Can't I have some hobbies? Isn't it normal for a monkey to pick lice? Although I am Monkey King, I have never thought that I am special. I come from the crowd and go to the crowd. What I do when I'm picking lice is called blending with the light and going deep into the crowd. Old Lord Taishang, isn't I powerful? The venerable of the 3 pure ones, the sage, came to the world. When I was helping him, your grandfather's grandfather was still in his mother's womb. I'm so low-key here. Do you have the right to look down on me? Monkey King pointed at himself and moved closer to the 3 people. Who are you showing these broken toys to? Yes, my fur is knotted. My body is also shedding dregs. I'm covered in dirt, right? But Monkey King is covered in dust. How can he be the same as you? That's called style. Monkey King gave himself a thumbs up. His words almost made the 3 exorcists kneel. Their expressions were stiff and lifeless. They lined up in a row and knelt in front of Monkey King. Monkey King asked, "Have you ever picked lice for me, old Lord Taishang?" The three of them shook their heads in unison. Wukong asked again, "Then are you the great sage equaling heaven?" The three of them shook their heads again. Monkey King sneered. "Then why do you still dare to be arrogant with me? Let me tell you, the great sage, heaven's equal, is the epitome of a demon, never forgetting his roots. It doesn't forget its roots and is the model of Taoism and Buddhism. Screw me." After saying that, he slapped Tiger Form Fist and made him fall to the ground. "You dare to be arrogant with me?" Tiger Form Fist came back to his senses. He pointed at Monkey King's nose and said, "I'm telling you, stop hitting me." Monkey King gave him a backhand slap. "If Monkey King wants to hit you, what do you dare to do? I'm telling you, stop hitting me. If you hit me again, I'll get angry." Tiger Form Fist pretended to be fierce. "So what if I hit you? You still dare to hit me?" Monkey King continued to slap Tiger Form Fist. Tiger Form Fist staggered a few steps back and raised his hand to protect his head. "I'm telling you, stop hitting me. If you hit me again, I'll hit you again. I'm going to get angry. Brothers, let's attack together. Beat this coward to death." Tiger Form Fist roared and got into a stance. Rumbling sounds of thunder came from his limbs and torso. It was the Tiger Leopard Thunder Roar. He clenched his fingers into claws like a leopard clawing out its claws. His energy sank into his dantian, and he channeled his strength into his fingertip. When he attacked, the wind and lightning were torn apart. His baleful aura was hidden within, and he was even more ferocious than when he fought with Miss Duan. The muscular man's legs were rooted to the ground, and he opened his arms wide like a pair of horns. He seemed to have fused with the Five Fingers Mountain, and the Five Fingers Mountain was helping him. His entire body was filled with qi, and his muscles swelled up. The formless aura he exuded caused the air to disperse, forming a baleful aura that looked like a black cloud. This stance was very familiar to Monkey King, and he suddenly said, "Isn't this the stance of the old bull pulling the cart?" As for the pale-faced scholar, he twisted his body twice as if he had no bones. His body was incredibly flexible, assuming a posture that was definitely not used by humans. Don't look at how he doesn't have muscles like the two people in front of him, but Goku can sense that his seemingly weak body has an astonishing amount of power stored in it. His chi twisted like a snake, and he looked like he could shoot out at any moment. Monkey King could feel that the three of them had their own unique trait. He suddenly nodded his head and said, "So you're the remnants of the Star Sect. I was wondering why a Hebei person like you would practice the Tiger Form Fist." So it wasn't the Southern Fist's Tiger Form Fist. It was the Tiger Form Fist of the Mountain Lord. The two you brought should be the Bull Elephant and the Snake Elephant. You can actually guess our origins. The Snake Lord laughed sinisterly. As expected of the King of Demons, the Monkey King of the past. Why are there only 3 small fries from the 12 star sects? Monkey King asked calmly. The Tiger Form Fist was enraged. What do you mean by 3 small fries? Don't misunderstand. Monkey King said slowly. I'm not trying to flatter the others. What I mean is, why didn't the 12 small fries come together in an orderly manner? We're a family, and even if we die, we should die in an orderly manner. Only the 3 of you are here? What are you talking about? The Bull Lord roared. Shameless boasting. He pressed forward. Under the combined attack of the 3 star sects, it was indeed a sight to behold. But to Monkey King, it was like a grasshopper. He couldn't raise his spirits and couldn't get serious. However, he had no choice but to deal with it. He could only form a hand seal with both of his hands and continued to sit on the rock. He seemed slow, but he was actually calm. He whispered into the ears of the 3 people who were rushing to attack, "Since you are from the 12 star sects, don't you recognize a palm technique that descends from the sky?" After saying that, He raised his arm and struck the palm seal in front of him. An unimaginably powerful aura instantly froze the entire five-finger mountain. And where Monkey King was standing was right on top of the giant reclining Buddha's palms. A huge swastika symbol appeared behind Monkey King. Looking at the familiar hand seal, the tiger-form fist, or rather, the mountain lord widened his eyes in disbelief. But it was too late. As the powerful aura that could tear the entire five-finger mountain apart hit the three people, they didn't even make a sound. In the blink of an eye, they turned into ashes. Even their ashes were slapped onto the mountain and merged with it. Only then did Monkey King slowly retract his palm. That's right. This is the Buddha's palm. In this world, other than Buddha, who else knows the Buddha's palm better than me? This is the Buddha's palm that made your ashes fall to the ground. From afar, Xuanzang raised his head and looked towards the five-finger mountain. He didn't know why he was moved, so he turned around and said to the samsara travelers who were climbing, "Everyone, work hard. In 7 days, we will reach the boundary of the five-finger mountain." After saying that, he continued to climb the dangerous mountain path with difficulty. Chapter 995. When they arrived at the five-finger mountain, Chern Xuanzang and the samsara travelers felt that something was wrong. To be honest, there was a reason why the Monkey King had not been discovered for 500 years. In addition to the fact that the five-finger mountain was too remote, there were many other barren mountains like the five-finger mountain in the vast Gobi Desert. To find the five-finger mountain where the Monkey King was located in the vast mountains, one had to admit that fate was necessary. And this place could really be called a barren mountain. It was so remote that not even birds would defecate. Therefore, when Chern Xuanzang arrived at the old temple, he was shocked to see all sorts of strange people rubbing shoulders with each other, not knowing where they came from. The small temple had been tidied up, and the broken roof had been repaired. With the small temple as the center, tents and shacks that were stacked haphazardly formed a sizable camp. In the camp, there were strange people in Buddhist and Taoist costumes passing by. There were indigenous people with tattoos all over their faces, shamans in leather jackets, and witches who were twitching from time to time. Xuanzang walked past a half-naked man who was pushing a stone lock with his clothes spread open. Because it was too crowded, Xuanzang had to put his palms together and apologized to the man who was looking at him strangely. The strong man stared at him, and his biceps were jumping. Xuanzang swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and a pungent smell of curry came. Before he arrived, the smell reached him first, and then a Hindustani with a headscarf brushed past his nose. In just a few breaths, Xuanzang saw 3 monks from the same sect, a lama wearing a pillow hat, a Japanese monk wearing a Japanese kasaya, and an ascetic monk from India. There were 6 Taoist priests from the Shangqing sect, Chuanjin sect, and Tianshi sect, as well as various sects and schools of thought. There were 2 blind people, 3 deaf people, and 4 or 5 disabled people of all kinds. There were people with broken limbs who were pushed by a servant in a wheelchair, and beggars who were missing a little finger. There was a white banner hanging on the place where the plaque was hung in the old temple. It said, "Congratulations on the 3rd Exorcist Conference of the Tang Empire and the Demon-Slaying Conference." Xuanzang didn't even have the time to be surprised when he encountered a familiar person. A flirtatious woman stopped him and shouted, "Chern Xuanzang, where have you taken our stronghold master?" Xuanzang had met her once. Looking at the group of people behind her, it was the group of people who pretended to be Western exorcists to help Miss Duan cheat his chastity on the night when the pig monster was wreaking havoc. At this time, one of the exorcists noticed the indefinite golden bangle on Xuanzang's hand and exclaimed, "Isn't that the master's indefinite golden bangle? Brat, tell me, did you plot against our stronghold master for money and lives?" At this time, the flirtatious woman came up and slapped him. "Third brother, are you stupid? Look at his weak, poor appearance, how can he defeat De Jie?" After saying that, he turned to Xuanzang and said fiercely, Tell me, where did you sell Dejie to? Please listen to my explanation, Xian Zong said dejectedly. The third oldest fool waved his hand and said, What's there to explain? I don't want to hear it. Quickly tell us, where did you trick our big sister to? She told us that she was going to look for you, but in the end, there was no result. She didn't even participate in the exorcism conference. We asked. The flirtatious fourth sister sneered. There's news that Tiger Form Fist and Mr. Emptiness met Dejie here. At that time, she was still beside you. Later, the news that this is the Five Fingers Mountain that suppressed the Monkey King spread. The exorcists of the world decided to hold the third exorcism conference here, which is also known as the Sun Slaying Conference, to determine the number one exorcist. So many people have come and gone, but no one has seen Big Sister. Where did you hide her? Xuanzang was stunned, then he sighed and said, Follow me. The exorcists looked at each other. At this time, Chen Xuanzang had already walked towards the old temple. They had no choice but to follow him, together with the group of samsara travelers behind him. After passing through the mirror-like stone basin of the old temple, they walked another 800 steps towards Mount Wuji and arrived at a depression where wind and qi gathered. A simple and crude wind shadow was erected here. On the grave made of rocks, there was a slightly flat stone tablet with the words, My beloved Miss Duan's grave, erected by Xuanzang. When the group of exorcists saw the stone tablet, it was as if they were struck by lightning. They froze on the spot. Then, the fourth female exorcist screamed, This is impossible! How did my Dejie die? Second brother said angrily. He lifted Xuanzang and asked, Did you kill her? Xuanzang had no choice but to tell them everything that happened when they reformed the pig demon. There was a long silence. Finally, fourth brother suppressed his anger and said, How could Dejie fall in love with a piece of trash like you? You are also responsible for her death. But for the sake of Dejie, I'll spare you. Let's go. After saying that, she led the group of exorcists, who were glaring at them, and prepared to leave. Xuanzang hurriedly asked, What are you going to do? Kill the Monkey King and avenge Dejie. Avenge Big Sister. The others also said, Yes, avenge. You are no match for the Monkey King. I came this time to reform the Monkey King and make him give up his butcher knife. Xuanzang said anxiously. Give up his butcher knife? You're no match for him? Fourth sister sneered. She pointed at the camp in front of her and said to Xuanzang, Do you see so many people here? They're all here to kill the Monkey King. You still say that you're no match for him? I'm only worried that he died too quickly and easily. He didn't die at our hands. Don't talk to us about reforming him. Let me tell you, we won't let the pig demon or the Monkey King off. Xuanzang said anxiously, Come back quickly. The Monkey King isn't that simple. No matter how many of you there are, you're no match for him. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the camp. Guests and exorcists, welcome to the third exorcism conference of the Tang dynasty. Here are exorcists from the Tang dynasty, Dongying, Baiwei, Siam, Silla, Korea, Turks, Xianbei, and even India and Western Qin. We're here to eradicate the king of the demons, the Monkey King. Who's the number one exorcist? The king of the demons is waiting for you to conquer him. I'm Traveling Monk Sun, the host of this exorcism conference. Xuanzang saw countless rays of light gathering in the old temple. Goku slowly walked out of the temple, stood under the white banner, and said to all the exorcists. All the exorcists looked at him, but apart from Xuanzang and the others, no one could tell that this short man, who was less than 6 feet tall and covered in knots of monkey hair, was the legendary great sage equaling heaven. Furthermore, no one would think that the host in front of the temple, who was so dirty that they couldn't even tell that he looked like a monkey, was their target, Sun Wukong. When Xuanzang saw the Monkey King, his body stiffened. He turned his head and made a cracking sound. The reincarnators felt like they were in a dream. Zhuang Baifen said, Is that the Monkey King? The magician said stiffly, "Maybe." "Why isn't he in the seal?" Ramal Khan asked, sweating profusely. Zhuang Baifan murmured, "Maybe he came out to take a breather?" "That host!" An exorcist shouted from below. "Can you wash yourself clean before coming again? You smell." At this point, the crowd echoed, but there were also people who objected. A group of beggars in front of the exorcist stood up and said, "So what if I smell? So what if I'm sloppy? Do you have any objections? We exorcists don't care about length. What's wrong?" A nine-fingered beggar said loudly, "I think it's good this way. We're all exorcists. We go through the wind and rain every day. It's completely understandable that we're a bit rough. Next, we're all here to kill the Monkey King with our own abilities. What right do you have to stand up and tell us what to do?" The muscular man holding the stone lock shouted. The Monkey King pointed at him and said loudly, "Well said." It spread its hands and said, "We're all here to kill the Monkey King, but there's only one Monkey King. There are so many people here. Who's going first? Who's willing to let others go first?" Some people will say, "We're all here to kill the Monkey King with our own abilities. Why should we be the last in line? If you all rush forward like this, are you going to kill your grandson or kill each other first?" Everything in the exorcism world, from the sun-slaying assembly attended by millions of exorcists to the small fire started by a few people, is it a failure? The failure of any joint exorcism operation is first and foremost a failure of the organization. If there's no good coordination mechanism between exorcists and there's no way to resolve the problem, then instead of saying that we're here to exorcise, it's better to say that we're here to kill each other. The cause of killing the grandson is not the need of a single person or group. It's not my cause alone, but the common wish of all exorcists and the people of the Tang dynasty. Now, at this time, if the Grand Killer is elected as the first exorcist, can he be justified if he doesn't get the recognition of all the sages present? Therefore, I believe that the person who killed the grandson shouldn't be the first exorcist. Instead, we should first elect the first exorcist or a few candidates to lead us in killing the grandson. Well said. The burly man said loudly. The Shaolin Temple's master Xianglong was the first to shake his staff and use the lion's roar technique to say, "That's right." The Chuanjin Taoist Jingming nodded slowly and said, "That makes sense." Immediately there was thunderous applause. "Thank you, thank you." The Monkey King bowed to the audience and said, "Thank you for your support. Ever since I made up my mind to join the exorcism cause, I've vowed to kill the grandson. I'll dedicate my life to the exorcism family. If you want to carry out the mission of killing the grandson, please allow me to be the vanguard." The Monkey King clenched his fists excitedly and shouted to the sky, "Kill the grandson!" The exorcists below also raised their fists and shouted, "Kill the grandson! Subdue the demon, kill the grandson demon! The sages gather on the Five Fingers Mountain, we will not return until the grandson demon is killed." The Monkey King's eyes were brimming with tears, as if moved by the unity of the exorcists and the grand occasion of eliminating the Demon King. He said loudly, "Unite as one to subdue the demon. Who else but me can kill the grandson demon?" "Did you see that?" Fourth sister said to Xuanzang, "We exorcists are united as one. You still say that we're not Monkey King's match?" She pointed at the Monkey King and said, "In front of these exorcists who risk their lives, what demon or demon can't be subdued? No." She cried out, "I tell you no." Chapter 996. The atmosphere was getting out of control under the Monkey King's instigation. The exorcists were treating the Monkey King as a skeleton in a tomb. Although Xianzang didn't know what the Monkey King wanted to do, if things continued on this track, there would probably be a bloodbath. He had to stand up and remind the exorcists, "Everyone, calm down. You don't know anything about the Monkey King. Whatever you say now is pointless. Right now, everyone should calm down and investigate, instead of rushing forward so impatiently." Xuanzang's voice broke the noisy atmosphere in the venue. The exorcists all turned around and saw Xuanzang's frail appearance with an afro on his head. They had originally listened to his words, but they were immediately thrown out of their minds. The nine-fingered beggar stood up and asked him, "Who do you think you are? Everyone is discussing the important matter of exorcism. Do you have the right to interrupt?" Xuanzang said calmly, "I'm Chen Xuanzang, a Buddhist disciple who hasn't shaved his head. I'm just an ordinary exorcist. Since this is an exorcism convention, there should be room for the voice of an ordinary exorcist." His words resonated with some people. The nine-fingered beggar also calmed down and prepared to listen to what the kid had to say. He heard Xuanzang say, "Everyone knows that the Monkey King is the king of the demons, the Monkey King. But it has been suppressed for 500 years. How many people know of its abilities and deeds?" Xuanzang signaled the exorcists to look at the Monkey King and asked, "For example, what does it look like? Is it a monkey? How tall is it? Does it have fur? Is it an ape or a monkey? For example, if it stands in front of you, can you recognize it as the Monkey King?" As Xuanzang spoke, he jumped to the side of the Monkey King and retreated behind the Monkey King. He secretly pointed at the Monkey King's head and mouthed, "That's it." But at this time, the Monkey King suddenly turned around and blocked Xuanzang's face. He said in admiration, "This brother is right. If anyone knows the Monkey King, please step forward and share your information with us." Monkey King suggested, "All right. This old man will not embarrass himself." The man in the wheelchair was suddenly pushed to the front. The people around him were discussing, "This is Exorcist by Shaosheng. So this is the legendary exorcist, the all-knowing exorcist, who has read all the books in the exorcist headquarters and knows everything about all the demons in the world." Someone exclaimed, "It's said that when Bai Shaosheng was exorcising demons in his early years, 5 of his limbs were eaten by demons. Even though he suffered such a heavy blow, he was still tenacious. With great perseverance, he read all the books and notes of the previous exorcists and finally became a master exorcist. Seeing him today, he really lost all his limbs. He's extraordinary." Once Bai Shaosheng was pushed out, it caused the surrounding exorcists to whisper to each other. At the same time, it also made the leading figures quietly wait for him to speak. This legendary exorcist had the academic ability to end a discussion with a single sentence. Bai Shaosheng said solemnly, "The king of demons, the Monkey King, is different from the rest. Legend has it that when he was still human, he was once a bandit, and his bandit name was Joker." "Joker?" someone said in shock. "The famous bandit from 700 years ago, known as the Marshal of Bandits, the son of a gangster, the bandit Marshal Joker?" Master Xianglong couldn't help but open his eyes. Joker was troubled by love, so he prayed to Guanyin Bodhisattva to become a demon to save his lover. In the end, his lover died in his arms. He couldn't calm his resentment, so he pointed to the sky and cursed Guanyin Bodhisattva and Buddha. Under his monstrous resentment, he shattered Buddha's golden body when he was 20 years old, and the blood of Buddha flowed out. After drinking Buddha's blood, he turned into a demonic stone on the coast of the East Sea. The demonic stone had boundless killing intent, and anyone who got close to it would die. It was a famous demon, the Stone of Slaughter. 100 years later, the Stone of Slaughter created endless killing sins. Although we exorcists tried to get rid of it many times, we were destroyed by that demon every time, until it gave birth to a demon fetus. A stone monkey broke out of the stone, and finally became the king of demons. He defied the heavens and became a saint. He wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace, and no one could stop him. Then, Buddha Tathagata came and suppressed him with a palm strike. His story gradually became a legend. What kind of setting is this? Zhuang Baifan couldn't help but curse. "I see." Xuanzang sighed. The Monkey King touched his chin and nodded. "I see." Xuanzang was stunned. If I say I see, then that's a matter of course. What do you mean by I see? Are you too immersed in the role? At this time, Xuanzang thought that these exorcists would calm down, but after listening to the gossip, everyone shook their heads. I thought that the Monkey King was something great, but it turns out that he's just a bandit. It's nothing more than accumulating resentment and turning into a demon. Even if it's amazing, under the seal of Buddha, what can it do? Someone thought himself clever and said, "The Monkey King has been sealed for 500 years. He's probably on the verge of death. Everyone, don't let others take advantage of him." With Xuanzang's words, the exorcists, who had just united a little, immediately scattered. They rubbed their palms, ready to take the Monkey King's head first. Xuanzang and the others were dumbfounded. They looked at the Monkey King and shouted, "Everyone, be quiet, be quiet." Master Xianglong waved his Buddhist staff and immediately, a powerful aura pressed down, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. The exorcists couldn't stand steadily and fell to the ground. Master Xianglong took a deep breath and his lungs swelled up like a balloon. When his upper body swelled up to twice its original size, he let out a deafening roar that could shatter metal and split rocks. All of a sudden, everyone's clothes were torn apart, and the powerful sound wave instantly tore them off. For a moment, the sound of tearing rang out incessantly. Master Xianglong's control over the tearing of his clothes in an instant without hurting anyone showed his profound skills. But after 3 seconds of suffocating silence, the screams of women rang out incessantly. Miss Duan's fourth sister held her chest and screamed. She was the closest to Master Xianglong. When she saw 2 obvious traces of blood flowing out of his nose, she went up and slapped him. The loud slap was accompanied by a shout, "Old hooligan!" The female exorcists present all ran away with their arms around their chests. Master Xianglong calmly wiped the blood from his nose and said calmly, "My internal strength was not good enough just now, and my internal organs were injured. I'm sorry for making a fool of myself." No matter what they thought of him, they still had to give him face on the surface. So they all nodded and said, "Master, you're so powerful. With such a powerful and exquisite lion's roar technique, it's normal for Master's mortal body to suffer a backlash. We're all men, and we've been in the wilderness for more than a month, so it's normal for us to be hot-tempered." There seemed to be something extraordinary in these words, and everyone turned to look at the person who spoke last. It was the 9-fingered divine beggar. When he saw everyone looking back at him, he immediately glared and said, "What? Do you want to fight? Peace is the most precious." The Monkey King stepped forward and advised, "The great cause of killing demons has been accomplished, so don't make a fuss at this time. Peace is the most precious." When the Monkey King spoke, everyone had to give him some face. In fact, he was just a nobody before, but his suggestion was just too much to the taste of these prestigious exorcists. If everyone swarmed to kill Sun Wukong noisily, how confident were they that they could make the title of the number 1 exorcist fall into their hands? At that time, no matter how much power they had, how powerful they were, and how much reputation they had, it was still not as good as luck. It was very likely that the title of killing the Monkey King would fall into the hands of a nobody. Therefore, Goku suggested that they choose one or a few candidates to be the first exorcist to lead everyone to kill Sun Wukong. This was in line with their thoughts. This way, even if someone was lucky and managed to snatch the head, they could still say that they had leadership merit. Once the leader's title was confirmed, even if the leader did not do anything and only helped, it would still be the first merit. The people who did the work could be sent off by being the vanguard of killing demons, while the real benefits and merits would naturally be divided among everyone. Therefore, the Monkey King's suggestion was just too much to their liking. They had to stand up and support him. Therefore, they naturally did not have a good attitude towards Chen Xuanzang. The 9-fingered godly beggar sneered, "Chen Xuanzang, what kind of demon have you subdued? What kind of demon have you exorcised? How dare you stand out and criticize us? This is the biggest joke in the world. Chen Xuanzang still did not know why they were making things difficult for him, so he said honestly, I only subdued the southern water bandits' fish demon and reformed the Gao Jia village's evil pig demon. In the area of exorcism, I made a small contribution. I have another small goal, which is to reform the Monkey King and make him turn over a new leaf. Reform the Monkey King? The nine-fingered godly beggar was stunned. And make him turn over a new leaf. Ha 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 ha. Are you trying to make me die of laughter? Chen Xuanzang said seriously, I have already reformed and subdued 2 demons, including Mr. Emptiness, Tian Zhanjiao, and the other 3 exorcists, and Zhu Ganglai, the pig demon. They all hated each other because of love, and because of their encounters as humans, they became demons because of resentment. Under the guidance of another exorcist master from the West, a magician, I understood that all demons are born from greed and hatred. I learned an exorcism technique called case restoration, which stimulates the truth, kindness, and beauty in the demon's heart, thus eradicating their evil nature. Now that we know the reason why the Monkey King became a demon, as long as we use this technique, we can use the demon-revealing mirror to trace the demon in the Monkey King's heart, seal its evil nature, and stimulate its human nature. Then, we can find a way to awaken the truth, kindness, and beauty in its heart. You are just a small pawn. How dare you talk about subduing the Monkey King and reforming demons? The nine-fingered godly beggar laughed. Dream on. You are just a crazy person, don't bother. He turned to leave. Xianzong continued seriously, I am not a small pawn, I have subdued the famous big demon Zhu Ganglai, who is ranked very high on the exorcist challenge list. Look, this is the proof that I have subdued him. Xianzong took out the 9-toothed harrow from his back. But the 9-fingered godly beggar didn't even look at it. He looked away and said to the beggar clan disciples beside him, Reforming demons, I have been subduing demons for so many years, but I have never heard of demons being reformed. I am afraid it is just one of those despicable people who use sensational words to gain fame. Xianzong moved the 9-toothed harrow in front of the 9-fingered godly beggar's eyes, and the latter turned his head in another direction and said to the beggar clan disciples beside him, Where did this nameless pawn come from? Who does he think he is? I have subdued demons for so many years. Exorcist Master, I am not a nameless pawn, I have really subdued the pig demon Zhu Ganglai and the fish demon. I can give you any evidence you want. So can you listen to what I have to say? Xianzong said patiently. Listen to what you have to say? The 9-fingered godly beggar pointed at Xianzang's nose and said, Who do you think you are? What do you think you are? You said you have subdued the pig demon, who can prove it? There is evidence here. Xianzong showed him the pig demon and the fish demon's weapons. Evidence? The 9-fingered godly beggar said arrogantly, If I say it is evidence, then it is evidence. His dirty face was almost touching Xianzang's nose. He sneered and said, If I say it is not, then it is nothing. Then he shook off Xianzang's hand, and the 9-toothed harrow and the kitchen spade fell to the ground. The 9-fingered godly beggar laughed 3 times, then stomped his feet and left. Xianzong was speechless. He looked up at the moon in the sky, only to see dark clouds covering the moonlight. He held the wooden flying rings in his hand, took a deep breath, and said to the back of the 9-fingered godly beggar, Someone can prove. The 9-fingered godly beggar interrupted him without looking back. What he says doesn't count. Xianzang's eyes were dim, and he suddenly shouted, Wu Jing, Wu Ning. The dark clouds in the sky suddenly dispersed, and a bald thunder god Buddha descended from the sky, riding on a gust of black wind. The gust of wind carried a black evil aura that swept across the entire camp. In the strong wind, the exorcists had to cover their eyes, for they could feel a powerful demonic aura coming at them. A clear cracking sound came from the rocks on the ground, and the 9-toothed harrow suddenly sank into the ground. In the distance, under a hill, a harrow that covered an entire hill suddenly broke through the rock stratum, grabbed the hill, and suddenly lifted it up, throwing it toward the exorcist's camp. Just when Master Xianglong and the other exorcists were about to work together to resist the sudden attack that covered the entire camp, the hill that was flipping over suddenly stopped, forming an inverted triangle on the ground. The top of the hill touched the ground, while the base of the hill was high up, like an unstable floating city. A fat figure with a harrow on his back looked down at the crowd from afar. Master Xianglong said in horror, "This demonic aura! Unbelievable!" Xianzong stood between the fish demon who rode on the black wind and the pig demon who flipped over the hill, with his back facing the crowd. Under the moonlight, he looked even more otherworldly. With his back facing the crowd, he said faintly, "I was reasoning with you, but you played hooligan with me. You want evidence and witnesses? Fine, I'll give you evidence and witnesses. Wu Jing, Wu Ning, cripple him for your master." Chapter 997. Following Xuanzang's angry roar, the bone shovel on the ground suddenly shot up, like a huge white bone snake shaking its head and tail, and slithered into the hands of the thunder god Duda, who was riding on the black wind. The shovel trembled slightly, and the white bones of the shovel, which looked like it was made of huge bone joints, rubbed against each other, making a rattle-like sound. The fish demon Wu Jing swooped down with the bone shovel in his hand, followed by the black wind, which was mixed with bone-chilling cold water. When the nine-fingered godly beggar saw the monstrous demonic aura coming at him, his expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated to the back of his disciples. He said to them, "Subdue the demon, don't let people go first, quickly!" The beggars did not doubt him and shouted in unison, "Yes, elders!" They raised the sticks in their hands and moved forward and backward in an orderly manner. The five of them stood opposite each other like Lianhua, their black and green sticks fell to the ground. The one on the left took the lead and said, "Cultivate qi to become a god, pull out the roots of karma, surpass the heavens and crash into the void, protect when there is trouble, report when there is trouble, change at will. I obey the law of Tai Chi deity, the 3 mountains 9 marquises." The one on the right took the incantation and said, "Qian Yuan Heng Li Zhen, Dui Zhe Hero Bing. Zhen Mountain seals ghost, Li Fire destroys evil spirit. Kuan Earth is clear and auspicious, can show people live long. Thunder rumbles, soon shooting can hide. I stand in the middle palace, all generals should receive. There is no time to travel, disaster never comes. I obey the law of Bagua Grandmaster." The one in the middle was trembling, his hair was disheveled and he mumbled, "Heaven and earth are black and yellow, the universe is chaotic, the gods of 8 directions make me natural, the divine incantation is calm. Wind, rain, thunder, lightning, take your positions and guard the altar, the order is as urgent as the law." As soon as the 5 of them formed a formation, an invisible force rose up from the ground, concealing them. Inside the formation, they could not see their real position. The 5 beggar clan disciples, carrying banners on their backs, moved like butterflies. Their feet moved in the Bagua Jiugong footwork. Inside the formation, their killing intent was concealed. Master Xianglong stared at them and said, "This is the beggar sect's Lianhua formation." It was said among the people that Wu Jian's alchemy had 5 evils. Since ancient times, the heterodox eccentrics were either crippled or crippled. They often mingled with the beggars. That's why the beggar clan has many heretical secret techniques. If the 8 trigrams grandmaster is Fushi, then who are the 3 mountains 9 marquises? Master Jingming stroked his beard and asked in surprise. This Master Chuanjin was an expert in the art of inner elixir and was a great guru of the inner elixir sect. It was obvious that he was not familiar with the remnants of the talisman sect. The 3 mountains and 9 marquises are actually the 3 mountains and 9 monkeys. It's because any a monkey is ranked 9th. This kind of lowly magic mostly uses mountain spirits and ghosts. Its god often hides his name with a secret spell, so it's hard to distinguish the real from the fake. Bai Shaosheng was indeed Bai Shaosheng, he casually explained. On the other hand, Wukong, who was behind them, had a hint of surprise on his face. He pinched his fingers and realized that a trace of psyche power had landed on him from one of the beggar clan disciples. He thought to himself, he's actually calling me. I wonder which evil god used the name of the god of Tai Chi. How did the 3 mountains and 9 marquises fall on me? Wu Jing stepped into the formation without knowing what was going on. He saw a beggar clan's disciple suddenly appear in front of him. Wu Jing's eyes widened. Before he could say anything, the beggar clan's disciple fiercely hammered the bridge of his nose and spat out a long fire dragon. The fire dragon was green in color and had a pungent smell. It was the poisonous phosphorus of centipedes, poisonous snakes, toads, and other 5 poisons. He hit it at the tip of his nose and made it into a green phosphorus fire. The poisonous fire rushed at his face and corroded immediately. Wu Jing's face was immediately covered with a layer of grayish-white gas. The poisonous fire was like maggots in his bones, burning on his body. If Wu Jing was still a demon fish, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. But he was no longer an ignorant person. After being enlightened by the Monkey King, he had an epiphany of the curtain-lifting general's body from his previous life. Before the poisonous fire in front of him was extinguished, there were knives and axes behind him. The 2 beggar clan's disciples each held a knife and an axe. They moved in the 8 trigrams and flashed in the formation. The 2 of them were skilled in martial arts and familiar with the formation. Therefore, the weapons in their hands landed on Wu Jing's body. The 2 of them felt the knives and axes in their hands stop as if they were hitting leather. They felt that something was wrong. They looked up and saw the knives and axes land on the back of Wu Jing's shoulder blades. His skin was smooth and tough. The knives and axes couldn't cut through. Wu Jing's face was livid. It was unknown if it was because he was poisoned or because his expression was simply ugly. Xuanzang shouted from behind, "You're still playing. Do you still listen to your master? Cut him." "Got it," Wu Jing shouted. Then, he swung the monk's shovel behind him and sent the 2 beggar clan disciples flying. At the same time, the black wind on his body became heavier. The mist that was 100 times colder than ice mixed with the black wind and blew into the formation. In a short while, when Wu Jing walked out, there were only 5 ice sculptures behind him. "Don't kill!" Xuanzang shouted from afar. Wu Jing became even more impatient. He shouted, "Got it? Stop nagging!" Wu Jing carried the white bone monk's shovel. Wu Ning also came to his side with the 9-toothed harrow. The 2 demons stood side by side and looked at 9-fingered godly beggar. Wu Jing said in a low, muffled voice, "Eldest senior brother, do you want to go first? Don't talk about who will go first. Let's go kill him together." Xuanzang's voice came from behind. "That bald donkey is so annoying. If Bodhisattva didn't tell me to protect him, I would have killed him long ago," Wu Ning said fiercely. He pointed at 9-fingered godly beggar and said, "Be good and lie down. Don't struggle, or else it will hurt." 9-fingered godly beggar said quietly, "Do you really think you can defeat me? Do you know a palm technique called the Roar of Dragon and Roar of Tiger?" 9-fingered godly beggar raised his right hand and gathered his chi. One palm seemed to touch the sky, while the other covered the earth. The momentum of heaven and earth poured down from the sky. The air behind 9-fingered godly beggar was driven by his essential chi and turned into a faint gale. The clouds in the sky dispersed, revealing the bright moonlight. As 9-fingered godly beggar pushed and pulled with his left and right palms, his essential chi drove the chi of heaven and earth. The roar of dragon and tiger could be faintly heard. The deep roar carried a majestic aura that looked down on all beings. Wu Jing and Wu Ning felt a faint pressure. Master Jingming said with emotion, "Could this be the beggar sect's famous #1 palm technique?" Master Xianglong shook his head and said, "Although the dragon-subduing palm is powerful, It is only the number one palm technique in the martial world. The number one palm technique in the world is a palm technique that descends from the sky. Don't use the hidden dragon. Nine-fingered godly beggar let out a loud shout. His essential chi gushed out from his body, and a huge golden dragon could be faintly seen twirling and dancing around him. His hair and beard fluttered in the wind. It was the manifestation of his essential chi by borrowing the force of heaven and earth. Compared to the tiger-shaped fist, it was much purer. Nine-fingered godly beggar's dirty hair fluttered in the wind. All of a sudden, he followed the golden dragon's shadow into the ground. Nine-fingered godly beggar's essential chi blended with the force of earth and hid under the ground. Wuning held the rake in his hand and waited with his eyes closed. When he sensed an extremely powerful force suddenly surging out from the ground, exploding the ground with an unparalleled power and soaring up into the sky, he waved his rake. The flying dragon is... The nine-fingered godly beggar shouted. The 9 teeth of the rake pierced through his hands and locked his iron palms. Nine-fingered godly beggar had just drilled half of his body out of the ground when his hands were nailed to the ground. You still dare to come out of the ground? Do you know what I, old pig rake, do? Wuning said with a straight face. Nine-fingered godly beggar screamed in pain. His upper body was writhing in pain. Tears streamed down his face as he cried, "Ouch, ouch, ouch, ouch! Have mercy on me, ah!" Xuanzang shouted from behind, "That's enough. Wuning, leave the rest and let me handle it." Zhu Ganglai frowned and cursed in a low voice, "Damn! I really can't stand it anymore. I used to be the Marshal of the Celestial Quartz Navy, the famous Marshal Tianpeng, and he ordered me around like this. He even wants us to fight the Monkey King. He wants us to die. Is the Monkey King someone that can be defeated by a human? Senior Marshal brother, just bear with it," Wu Jing advised. "I used to be the curtain-lifting general. Didn't he order me around like a servant? Bodhisattva said that he will guarantee us a bright future. Just bear with it." Wuning turned around and said, "All right, Master, you do it." Only then did Xuanzang scamper over, holding a stick that came out of nowhere. He knocked Nine-fingered divine beggar's head and said, "You stinky beggar, look at me. Do you still dare to not look me in the eyes? I told you to squint, I told you to turn your head. Let me tell you, if I wanted to be the Pokemon Demon Master, Chen Xuanzang, how dare you look down on me?" Xuanzang was the last to crawl to his feet. He said in a refreshed manner, "I am Chen Xuanzang, an exorcist determined to reform demons and become a master trainer of demons. What business do you have to subdue demons in the future? Just leave it to me." Upholding the will to awaken the truth, kindness and beauty in people's hearts, when Xuanzang was preaching his ideas, the nine-fingered godly beggar under his feet quietly used his severely injured and trembling right hand to draw a talisman with his blood. Using the sound of his painful cry, he mumbled, "Defeat from the ghosts, next is the god of the blade. Fierce Hao Shang Tai, Ling Ba Jing Qi, Wang Bei Diao Gao, Si Du Ding Wu, kill Yuan Jiu again, fill the sky, hurry as the law." He endured the pain and slapped the talisman. Then, he was dumbfounded. There was no reaction. At this time, someone suddenly came over and looked down at the talisman on the ground. The person looked up and saw that it was Zhu Gangchen, the Zhu Wuning. He looked at the nine-fingered godly beggar and said in a low voice, "Call me. You should have said so earlier." The two great demons easily crippled the famous exorcist of the beggar sect, Nine-fingered godly beggar. The exorcists fell silent. A young disciple beside Master Xianglong trembled slightly. Looking at the arrogant Xuanzang, he suddenly plucked up his courage and pointed at him, saying, "You colluded with demons." The latter part of his words was covered by a rough hand. Master Xianglong looked at the exorcists, who were looking at him from all directions, and smiled. "My disciple has a habit of daydreaming. He is sleepwalking again. Excuse me, excuse me." Then, He went up and had a friendly conversation with Xuanzang. They talked about the great cause of eradicating the king of demons, the Monkey King, and spoke highly of Xuanzang's exorcism philosophy of reforming demons. The two of them had a friendly discussion on Buddhist theories, showing the spirit of friendship between Buddhist disciples as a family. The young disciple who made a slip of the tongue said with grievance, "Why did second senior brother have to suffer in the demon ceiling tower just because he fell in love with a demon? And why did everyone turn a blind eye to Chen Xuanzang's collusion with demons? Because your second senior brother might have made friends with demons, but Master Xuanzang has really colluded with big demons." The senior brother beside him said quietly, "When you have a relationship with demons, you are a corrupt person who defected to them. When you befriended lesser demons and demons, you would become an unstable factor in the relationship between humans and demons. However, when Venerable Xuanzang truly controlled two great fiendish demons, he would become a pillar of Buddhism that would reform the fiendish demons and subjugate them as guardians. When he subdued the king of demons, the Monkey King, he is the pillar of the righteous path, a legendary senior. The essence of Buddhism is the two realms of reality and illusion. The ingenuity lies in the heart." The senior brother slowly turned around and said, "Huaining, do you understand?" Chapter 998. Beside Xuanzang there were two demons standing around, but they did not prevent the great exorcists from greeting him. Jingming held Xuanzang's hand and said with a smile, "Venerable Xuanzang is indeed a rising star in the exorcism world." The implication was that he had to give in to this old senior. Sitting in his wheelchair, Bai Shaosheng smiled and said, "At this exorcism convention, there are many virtuous people. In addition to the two exorcism masters from Chuanjin and Shaolin, there are also exorcists from Japan, Master Kong Hai, two masters from India, Buddhist monks Shan Wei and Vajra Wisdom, Western regions by Hari Bushibi, Dashi's black-robed mage, Hassan, and the exorcism envoy of the Great Qin Holy See, Van Helsing. Mr. Van Helsing was on his way to the convention when he was helping people exorcise demons. Unfortunately, he was bitten by a zombie and can't participate in this convention, but he still sent his assistant, Miss Anna. Finally, the two shamans of the Turks and Xianbei, Ashina Duji and Murong Tuyen, have come personally. Every time Bai Shaosheng called out a name, Xianzang saw weirdly shaped exorcists either cupping their hands or putting their palms together. These foreign exorcists were all weirdly shaped. Although they seemed to be quite famous, the exorcists didn't seem to respect them at all. Xianzang thought that most of them were foreign mascots that were specially found to show the success and unity of this conference. In addition, Taoist priest Xianyuanji of Luofu sect, Senior Zhang Guo of Lu Guan sect, Celestial Master Chaoyang of Jingyi sect, and several famous exorcists from the Central Plains, Ming Chongyan and Sima Qingzhen, as well as the masters of the Mystic Door, Luo Gongyuan and Yuan Tiangang. Li Guisho, Li Xing, Zhang Zhongding, Pan Qi, Old Man Lanling, Ruzhou Monk, Lu Weng, and several other great exorcists. Among the top experts of the Wulin world, Mo Kai, the master of the Extreme Bliss sect, the White Tiger King, the master of the Misty City, the Green Lotus Sword Immortal Li Taibai, the Buddhist sword Zen poet Majia, the two legendary swordsmen Kong Kong and Jing Jing the leader of the Chang and knight-errant Chun Yuqi, the scholar Pei Hang, the hermit of the White Deer Mountain Pei Chen, Wang Jingbua, and Liang Fang. Although these people did not come in person, they all sent people to participate in this exorcism convention. Let us give their representatives a warm welcome. In addition, the Chui clan of the Central Plains, the Lu clan of Fanyang, the Li clan of Zhao County, the Zheng clan of Xinjiang, and the Wang clan of Taiyuan have also sent people to congratulate the exorcism convention. It has only been 3 years since the founding of the Tang dynasty and Wuda. During the last years of the Great Sui dynasty, there were frequent wars and demons appearing in large numbers. The scenes are still vivid in our minds, so the exorcism convention has been suspended for 40 years. Now that the new dynasty is about to convene, His Majesty the Wu-De Emperor has issued a decree to commend you. He also ordered the King of Qin of the Heavenly Policy Institute to send an envoy to congratulate him. These people sound like they are very powerful. Xuanzang turned around and said to his 2 disciples, "So those who came are all barbarians and foreign monks. Those truly powerful experts didn't come to the exorcism convention?" Wu Ning was still as indifferent as ever. He replied lazily, "A few of them are all right. But to deal with the Monkey King, these people are far from being able to do so." After Bai Shaoxing introduced the slightly more famous people who came to participate in the convention, he got down to business. Just now, the host, traveling monk's son, suggested that we should choose one or a few great exorcists who are worthy of being the #1 exorcists to lead everyone to eradicate the king of demons, the Monkey King. To reduce the internal consumption among the exorcists. As the saying goes, a snake can't survive without a head. If we exorcists can't unite, we can't defeat those demons and ghosts, Bai Shaoxing shouted. But an exorcist who was blind sneered and retorted, "Just because you say they are great exorcists, they are great exorcists? I think they are nothing more than that. Who knows how capable those with some reputation are? Like that 9-fingered godly beggar just now. He boasted so loudly, but so what? Any one of us can just step forward and he'll be dead." A muscular man echoed, "What's the use of having a glib tongue and boasting a good reputation? Exorcists still have to rely on their skills. In the end, we still have to rely on our skills to defeat the demons. You can choose any one of them." "I'm not convinced." An exorcist who had lost an arm sneered. "If you want me to be convinced, you'll have to defeat me first." Most of the exorcists were arrogant and unruly. In other words, they didn't know what they were doing. To be honest, those famous great exorcists were not people to be underestimated. Although 9-fingered godly beggar was beaten up by Xuanzang's 2 disciples, he wasn't the weakest among the reincarnators. So, the reincarnators' faces were a little ugly. Where did so many experts come from? However, other than the few famous masters who were honored guests of the aristocratic families and the imperial court, there were also some who mingled in the pugilistic world or mingled in dangerous and remote areas, fighting with demons in dangerous mountains and rivers. They walked the path of the underworld. Although they weren't famous, they had real skills. It was natural for them to look down on those who only had a reputation. Moreover, other than the monks and Taoists who were organized, most of the exorcists were unorthodox. They were people of the pugilistic world. Everyone came here for the meeting not to subdue demons or to benefit the people, but for fame and fortune. Who would be willing to work for others? Suddenly, there was an uproar. "Yes. We should let everyone vote, not just a few people. Fight for the throne. Exorcists should be judged by their skills." Master Xianglong took a step forward and roared like a lion, "Silence." The huge sound wave forced the people below the stage to take 5 steps back. The quarreling people immediately quieted down, but they looked at Master Xianglong with murderous eyes. After a few whispers, the legendary exorcists said helplessly, "Since everyone thinks that the person who will lead everyone to subdue and eliminate the Monkey King must have amazing skills, then you can choose 1 or 2 leaders with extraordinary martial arts. Then choose 1 or 2 leaders with extraordinary martial arts skills. Together with the highly respected great exorcist that we recommend, they will be the candidates for the first exorcist. They will lead everyone to subdue the demons. Whoever kills Sun Wukong will be the first exorcist." Wukong suddenly interrupted and said, "Wait, I think this is rejecting Venerable Xuanzang's school of exorcism, which doesn't rely on martial arts but on subdued guardians and pets to subdue demons and reform them. Not every exorcism school wanted to slay demons and eliminate fiends. The sealing faction and subduing faction still occupy a large part of the exorcism market. I feel that this is discrimination against non-mainstream exorcism schools. Wu Ning and Wu Jing's hearts sank. You're the King pet. However, they knew the identity of the Monkey King. Although they were cursing in their hearts, they didn't dare to say a word. After the few great exorcists discussed again, they suggested, exorcists with guardians and disciples can let their subordinates represent them in the martial arts competition. In the end, be it subduing, sealing, or eliminating the Monkey King, everyone regards him as the first exorcist. Because of the venue, this martial arts competition was based on the arena system. There were a total of 3 arenas, and the one who went up first would be the champion. The remaining 3 unchallenged champions would be the candidates, together with Master Xianglong and Clarity Taoist Priest. They would lead everyone to defeat Sun Wukong. The pig demon was overturned on the ground, and the inverted hilltop formed a small hill, which would be used as one of the arenas. The other 2 arenas would be placed in front of the old temple of Mount Wuji. This place was barren, and there were many rocky mountains in the wilderness. As one of the 2 nominated arena masters, Master Xianglong intended to intimidate those arrogant and unruly people. Therefore, he took off his kasaya, revealing his body made of muscles that were as hard as steel wire. His sage-like, benevolent demeanor of a senior expert suddenly turned into the style of a Hong Kong man with angular features, a square face, and bulging muscles. Following Master Xianglong's angry roar, his thick blood vessels swelled on his muscles. At this time, everyone remembered why the head of the Shaolin Temple, whose Buddhist name was Hongren, was called Master Xianglong. It was because he had once used his supreme strength to blow up an evil flood dragon during the flood at the end of the Sui dynasty. Master Xianglong's eyes widened in anger. His white eyebrows that hung down to his face wantonly fluttered like a dragon's beard, and the muscles on his seemingly thin face contracted like iron wires. With a loud roar, he shot out like a bolt of lightning, breaking through the speed of sound with his body. The powerful shock wave that broke through the sound barrier knocked over several exorcists who were caught off guard. In a flash, Master Xianglong arrived in front of a small hill. His arms were like nails that smashed straight into the rock. Then, like a pile driver, his 2 iron arms kept smashing into the cliff, creating a group of 20 neat holes. Then, as Master Xianglong's chest swelled to 3 times its original size, an inaudible sound wave blasted directly on the rock in front of him. Immediately, the entire piece of bluish-black rock, which was hundreds of meters high, was peeled off. Under the bombardment of the lion's roar's infrasonic waves, the structure of the rock was destroyed and the holes that Master Xianglong had made in advance cracked open. This kind of sound wave first destroyed the internal stress of the rock, and then through the resonance of the sound waves, broke the rock into pieces, causing its surroundings and top to peel off, forming a square, cylindrical arena. Not only did it show Master Xianglong's powerful strength, but it also showed his wonderful control and profound martial arts wisdom. Seeing his old friend Master Xianglong's awe-inspiring might, Master Jingming smiled and also made his move. However, he was different from Master Xianglong. With just a slight tap of his toes, he was like a dancing crane. His loose robe was like a pair of wings that fluttered and soared into the sky. Soon, he disappeared from the eyes of the crowd of exorcists, leaving only a small black dot. Only his voice was still clearly heard by the crowd. In a place where most people couldn't see but only a few could, Master Jingming pinched his fingers and formed the great thunderfire seal with both hands. He clenched his fists and hid his carapace. He chanted, "The gods of heaven and earth, 3 to 5 heavens, are now under my command. What I have done is done. Return to your headquarters. Listen to my warning. If you are summoned again, return to your former spirits." Under the dim moonlight, a silver snake rose from the 9th heaven and cut through the clouds. The message arrived. It struck the top of the mountain below Master Jingming. The inner alchemy used the Chuanjin inner alchemy as the technique, and the Shunshao Sect's 5 Thunder Technique as the technique. Using the Tao to control the technique, the inside and the outside intertwined to guide the heavenly thunder. In an instant, countless silver snakes and silver flood dragons appeared. Electricity surged, and hundreds of heavenly thunder interweaved to form a heaven and earth dharma net that enveloped the top of the mountain below. In an instant, it broke through the boulders and plowed through the cracks. The heavenly thunder was like a carving knife, peeling off the rocks of the small mountain layer by layer. By the time the heavenly master put away the thunder technique, there was no longer any natural grandeur on the small mountain. Countless reefs that looked like thousands of sharp blades pointed toward the sky. From the outside to the inside, they kept rising. Wind blew through the cracks of the rocks, producing strange sounds that made people dizzy. Chaotic air currents shuttled among them. The sharp rock fragments could tear apart anything that fell on it. This arena was filled with a murderous aura of life and death. Master Jingming slowly descended, and Master Xianglong slowly put on his kasaya. At this moment, none of the exorcists below dared to say a word. Only then did the Monkey King smile and say, "All right, Venerable Xuanzang is willing to be the first person to defend the arena." After saying that, before Xuanzang could react, he felt a furry hand grab him from behind, and then a strong force hit him. His body flew out involuntarily and landed on the Saber Mountain arena. Xuanzang shouted in horror, "Wu Ning! Wu Jing!" Just as he was about to be smashed into pieces by the sharp reefs, the greenish-black reefs got closer and closer. When they reached the tip of Xuanzang's nose, they suddenly stopped. Only then did Xuanzang feel something on his feet. He turned his head and saw a pair of black cloth shoes and linen socks binding his feet. "Wu Ning, you saved my life again." Xuanzang pressed his palms together. Chapter 999. Let us welcome the first champion of the arena, Venerable Xuanzang. Monkey King took over the role of host and said loudly, "Venerable Xuanzang is an exorcist from the Guanlong region of Tang Dynasty. He is also a disciple of Mahayana Buddhism. He adheres to the principle of don't kill and awakens demons' kindness and beauty. He is the leader of the new generation of exorcists. Because Venerable Xuanzang does not have the ability to fight, according to the rules of the world's #1 demon-slaying convention, this arena battle will be fought by his disciple. The one on the arena now is Venerable Xuanzang's first disciple, Wuning. Zhu Wuning, formerly known as Zhu Ganglai, was once ranked 3rd on the demon-slaying board. He was the pig demon of Gao village, Zhu Ganglai. He became a demon because of love and swore to kill all the vain and superficial women in the world. He killed countless people and was filled with resentment. After Venerable Xuanzang sacrificed himself to reform him, Zhu Ganglai awakened the humanity in the depths of his heart. He turned over a new leaf and was taken in as his disciple. Now, he is the first senior brother, Zhu Wuning. Wuning shook the rake in his hand. The 9 teeth of the rake gleamed coldly, reflecting the snow-like white light. It was filled with killing intent. "Now, let's invite the challengers to the arena," Monkey King said loudly, but the exorcists below were silent. No one stepped forward. What a joke! The scene of Zhu Ganglai crippling 9-fingered godly beggar was still fresh in everyone's minds. Who didn't know that the pig demon above them was a tough nut to crack? For a moment, those who knew what was going on decided to challenge the remaining 2 spots. Otherwise, he would be prepared to observe for a moment, to see the quality of the pig's enlightenment ability and observe the pig demon's weakness. As for those who didn't know what was going on, although they were tempted, no one stepped forward at the moment. This caused an awkward silence. Everyone could not figure out what was going on. That was why no one went up despite Monkey King's invitations. Monkey King could only light 3 joss sticks and stick them in the incense burner in front of the old temple. He said, "If no one challenges within the time it takes for 1 joss stick to burn, then Venerable Xuanzang will successfully defend the arena. Furthermore, we have to update the rules. Since Venerable Xianzong is an exorcist of the pet style, even though the pet he subdued was the one who challenged on his behalf, there is still an issue of unfairness. Therefore, after discussion among the judges, we have decided to make compensatory measures. This is the world's #1 exorcism convention. As a martial arts competition, there is no rule against attacking a trainer. In other words, as long as Venerable Xuanzang loses his will to fight, Zhu Ganglai will be eliminated as well. Wait a minute. Blind suddenly raised his hand and asked, "Where did the referee come from?" The Monkey King explained, "The judges for the martial arts competition will be the Shaolin Temple's Master Xianglong, the Chuanjin sect's Master Jingming, and me. The judges are not in charge of determining the winner or loser, but they are in charge of maintaining the results of the martial arts competition and protecting the lives of the losers in the arena, to avoid any bloodshed in the arena. There is only one outcome in the arena. The one standing is the winner. Master Xianglong and Master Jingming are highly respected, so I can understand that they're referees. But you're just a nobody, and your hair is so swollen that I can't even tell what color it is. What right do you have to be the referee?" Blind questioned again. "It seems like this mister has a deep prejudice against us fur-bearing people," Monkey King said helplessly. Blind said proudly, "That's right, especially those with dirty hair like yours. You look like a wild monkey." Xuanzang hammered his right palm and agreed, sigh. "This mister is very insightful." Wu Ning hurriedly pulled on his sleeve and whispered, "Don't talk so much." Wukong looked around, but no one was willing to say a word of justice for him. He could only helplessly say, "But as the host of the convention, I have made a great contribution to the world's #1 subduing evil martial arts convention and the 3rd exorcism convention of the Tang Empire. I was the one who proposed and organized this convention. But before today, no one knew you. You're just a nobody. Let me ask you, how can a nobody be the referee of the world's #1 exorcism convention?" Blind spread his hands and asked the people around him. F***CK. The Monkey King scolded. "Don't be so shameless. Who do you think you are? How dare you point at me here?" Blind sneered. "Look, with this kind of quality, how can he be a referee? I think that Exorcist by Shaoxing, as a famous senior in the exorcism world, is more suitable to be a referee in terms of knowledge and experience." The Monkey King turned back to look at the smug Bai Shaoxing, who was smiling and nodding. He hinted, "But he's crippled." Blind brushed the hair hanging in front of his forehead and said, "Are you looking down on us handicapped people?" Immediately, there were those with broken arms, legs, deafness, blindness, dementia, mental retardation, imbecility, idiocy, and paralysis. The exorcism world faced demons and ghosts, and it was extremely dangerous. It could be said that they used their lives to make a living. Therefore, there were many handicapped people, and a large number of them stood out. The Monkey King panicked. "Wait, you're deaf and can't hear anything. Why are you standing out? Are you going to stand out just because someone pulls you? And you're drooling and your eyes are lifeless. You're clearly a retard. How can a retard be an exorcist? And, sir, your hands can't even be steady. Look, they're still trembling. Alzheimer, don't join in the fun, okay?" Master Xianglong advised tactfully, "Oh, Walker, with one sentence, you've offended more than half of the exorcism world. I think you won't be able to sit firmly as the referee of the world's #1 exorcism convention. Let's move aside." The Monkey King was speechless. "Master, you're really straightforward." "Okay." The Monkey King pointed at the handicapped people below and said, "I can leave, but..." The Monkey King looked up to the sky and roared, "I'm not going to be the referee anymore." Then, with a somersault, his body leaped into the clouds. After a long time, the clouds in the sky were red like fire. The clouds kept tumbling like a sea of fire. Under the moonlight, the red clouds in the sky faintly reflected the far east, the sun that was about to rise. Venus shone brightly, and a figure descended from the sky, stepping on the second cylindrical arena. Its hair, which could not be seen clearly, fluttered in the wind. It was 6 feet tall, and when it stepped on the arena, it gave everyone the feeling that the world was shaking. The Monkey King faced the wind and said, "But I can still participate. I'm the champion of the second arena." Xuanzang waved at the Monkey King in a friendly manner from afar. "Hi, Mr. Sun, we meet again?" The Monkey King had no choice but to turn around and greet him. "Hello, Master Xuanzang. Long time no see. Why don't I see Miss Duan?" Xuanzang put his palms together and laughed wantonly, as if he did not care about anything. "She's dead. Didn't Mr. Sun know?" "I've never heard of this," the Monkey King said sincerely. "Master, my condolences." As the two continued to stab at each other, there was finally an exorcist who came out to challenge. The Indian master Jin Gang Ji chose between the two arenas. He looked at Xuanzang's side. Although Zhu Gonglie's demonic aura was shocking, like a tidal wave, it was overwhelming in front of everyone and dyed half the sky. However, he had the weakness of Xuanzang, who did not have the strength to truss a chicken. As for the Monkey King's side, he was unknown. Although he displayed a beautiful movement technique, it was nothing compared to Zhu Gonglie's demonic aura. Jin Gangji thought for a while, and was about to walk towards the Monkey King's side. However, his senior, Shan Wei, pulled him back and pointed in Xuanzang's direction. "Over there?" Jin Gangji thought for a long time before guessing. "Senior, you want me to amaze these Tang exorcists with a single feat, and spread the teachings of Tantric Buddhism?" Shan Wei shook his head lightly and said, "You will die here. That's the only way to survive." Jin Gangji's eyes narrowed, but he did not ask any questions. Instead, he went straight to Xuanzang's arena. Although the arena was dangerous, Jin Gangji's body was extremely tough. He stepped on the razor-like reef barefoot. His thick skin was comparable to Master Xianglong's Golden Shield level 10, and he climbed up easily. Chapter 1000. Jin Gangji was originally from Mariah. Even though Bai Shaoxing said that he was Lotus Peanut's disciple, the truth was that Lotus Peanut might not dare to call himself his master. Other than learning the time scripture from Tubo and Lotus Peanut, Jin Gangji had another master in India. He once studied under Silent Wisdom Master at Nalanda Temple, and then studied under Master Xing Xianluan, Theory of Yoga, Theory of Knowledge, and Theory of Debate. His most outstanding master was Dragon Tree Bodhisattva's disciple, Master Long Ji. He learned the Vajra Apex Yoga Sutra and Vairocana Dharma. As the founder of Mahayana Buddhism and the disciple of Dragon Tree Bodhisattva, his status was much higher than Lianhua's disciple. At this time, Mahayana Buddhism had yet to spread to the east. Even Bai Shaoxing might not know about the Dragon Tree Bodhisattva in India. On the other hand, Lianhua was well known in the Central Plains because Tubo was close to the Tang Empire. Jin Gangji Tong's senior brother, Shan Wei, had come to the eastern lands with a mission. Other than promoting the Vajrayana of Buddhism, he also had the important task of finding the 4 Sakyamuni celestial artifacts that were taken away by the traitors of the Brahmin sect that were defeated by Gautama Buddha. Legend has it that Sakyamuni comprehended the supreme Dharma from the Dipankara Buddha's relic, the world-illuminating lamp, and a Buddha's palm that could subdue the heretics. With his infinite wisdom, Shakyamuni brought forth a new form of the Buddha's palm and evolved it into 5 forms of the Buddha's palm. Before he passed away in meditation, he saw through the future Maitreya Buddha's birth. The 8 forms of the Buddha's palm would evolve into the 9th form of the Buddha's palm. 5 powerful instruments were passed down. So far, there were 6 instruments in India that contained the secret of the Buddha's palm. 4 of them were stolen by the Brahmin traders who were defeated by Sakyamuni. They were brought to the eastern lands in a futile attempt to assist Cao Cao in seizing control of the world during the chaos of the 3 kingdoms, thus reviving the Brahmin tradition. In the end, such a vain attempt was defeated by the local Taoist masters of the Eastern land, as well as the Indian Buddhists, Kumarash and Bodhidharma, who had come to hunt down the remnants of the Brahmin sect. After the successor of the Brahmin, Mahajialuo, failed, the 4 magical weapons that he stole disappeared without a trace. The few Indian monks had no choice but to stay in the Eastern lands and pass down the orthodoxy of Buddhism. Only then did the Wei and Jin dynasties have 480 temples in the southern dynasties. Xuanzang didn't know that this tanned, skinny, and bumpkin-looking Indian Hindustani had such an amazing background. If he knew, he, a self-proclaimed Mahayana disciple who hadn't shaved his head, wouldn't know where his knees would go soft. Of course, even if Xuanzang knew, he might not think highly of this Indian monk. After all, according to the Monkey King, he was the reincarnation of Gautama Buddha's disciple. Moreover, he had the suspicious Buddhist monk Nameless Zen master who had carefully taught him. He was the direct disciple of Gautama Buddha in both lives and was destined to be the Buddha of sandalwood merit in the future. His status was much higher than a mere disciple of the Dragon Tree. On the arena, 2 monks who didn't know each other's prominent status in the system looked at each other. It was Xuanzang who nodded first and put his palms together. Mahayana disciple Chen Xuanzang greets senior brother Jin Gangji. Jin Gangji, however, waved his hand and said stiffly with an Indian accent, "On the arena, fists and legs have no eyes. How could it matter if they were senior brothers or not? I wonder why you call me a Mahayana disciple? As far as I know, after the Dragon Tree Patriarch established Mahayana with the Middle View, no Indian Buddhists came to the Eastern lands to spread their teachings. How can there be a Mahayana?" At this moment, Xuanzang was embarrassed. It turned out that Jin Gangji didn't recognize him as a Mahayana disciple. The exorcists below were all shrewd people. How could they not understand the meaning behind Jin Gangji's words? They whispered to each other, obviously waiting to see Xuanzang make a fool of himself. Fortunately, the Eastern lands were second to none. These exorcists weren't Buddhist disciples like Xuanzang who would automatically lower their heads in front of Indian Buddhists. They looked down on these Indian natives. Therefore, although they wanted to see Xuanzang make a fool of himself, they didn't feel any better when they looked at Jin Gangji, the ignorant barbarian. What they were thinking was, Xuanzang's embarrassment when he met Li Kuei was naturally worthy of ridicule. But you, a barbarian from the West, actually dared to look down on our magnificent Middle Earth. You're even more ignorant. Everything in our Middle Earth is the best. Even if it's the Eastern lands, when it comes to our Middle Earth, the outstanding people will definitely surpass your Indian. Do you think there's no one in our Middle Earth who can stand up to you? Shan Wuwei saw the surrounding exorcists' malicious, disdainful, or blatant discrimination. He sighed slightly, but it was too late to stop his junior brother. Xuanzang looked awkward, but there was nothing he could say to refute. Zhu Ganglai, on the other hand, sneered and scolded. What can a mere Hindustani from India know? Our Middle Earth dynasty has its own national conditions. We don't respect any foreign ancestors or deities. Since you came to our land, you better stay obediently. All deities that the people of Middle Earth believe in must not be foreigners. Is the Western Dachin Vatican overbearing? When preaching to Middle Earth, the believers still have to listen to the imperial court. What is the imperial court? It's the manifestation of Haotian's will. Therefore, the emperor is the son of heaven. The son of heaven is the son of Haotian, and Haotian is the Tao of Middle Earth. If you, the Mahayana, still insist on the Hindustani way, I'm sorry, Middle Earth won't allow such a powerful existence like you. If you still insist on the Indian way. Zhu Ganglie's domineering aura from his previous life was fully displayed. He said majestically, "Then, from now on, our Buddha is our Buddha, and your Buddha is your Buddha. Every dog has its day. When the time comes, it's still uncertain whether India will still be a Buddhist land. The Orthodox Buddhism is in Middle Earth. No one is allowed to interfere. Xuanzang was not as domineering as Zhu Ganglai. He did not have a celestial lord to back him up. He could only answer awkwardly but politely, "Senior brother, the Mahayana is not a secret Indian teaching." According to legend, when Buddha preached, although he did not say a word about the Mahayana Dharma, it was actually to avoid interfering with the disciples' cultivation of Dharma. In fact, he had already secretly told the disciples, and his Bodhi heart was awakened. "Senior brother, how can you say that there is no Mahayana outside of India?" This time, it was Jin Gangji's turn to choke. He had also heard that Mahayana was a secret teaching of Buddha that Xuanzang said, but that was a rumor made by his ancestor, Long Shu, to show that he was the orthodox Buddhism, to attack those Theravada who insisted on the primitive teachings of Buddhism, and to belittle their cultivation as Han. As a direct disciple of the Mahayana, how could he not know that this was completely a lie for political reasons? But now, he could not expose it. After all, Jin Gangji was not as smooth as his senior brother, Shan Wei. If Shan Wei was here again, he would probably bite the bullet and admit it. However, Jin Gangji was proud of his identity as a direct disciple of the Mahayana. Although he later entered the Vajra Mahayana with Lianhua, he was still proud of his sect. How could he tolerate Xuanzang, who in his eyes, wore a kasaya and mixed into the Mahayana Buddhism? He bit the bullet and said, "I am a direct disciple of the Mahayana. Do you think I don't know if there is an inheritance of the Mahayana robe in East Earth? In East Earth, other than me, it is impossible for there to be a disciple of the Mahayana Dharma." Jin Gangji had just said firmly when he heard his senior brother scolding him, "Jin Gangji, don't talk nonsense." Jin Gangji retorted, "Senior brother," who Shan Wei's eyes widened as he looked at Jin Gangji and said slowly, "Junior brother, have you forgotten why we came to East Earth?" Jin Gangji shouted angrily, "Isn't it because of Ma Kai, the remnant of Brahmin?" As soon as he said this, Bai Shaoxing, Master Xianglong, and the others' expressions changed. They didn't expect this Indian monk to come for one of Middle Earth's top experts, Ma Kai, the sect master of Pure Bliss sect. Master Xianglong couldn't help but say, "Ma Kai is also a disciple of Buddhism with profound Dharma. Although his teachings are a little extreme, how can he be a remnant of Brahmin?" Jin Gangji sneered, "He is just a devil who snuck into Buddhism." Master Xianglong knew that Jin Gangji was right, but he couldn't agree to it. Now that Nanbei Chao of Buddhism had suffered a great counterattack from Eastern Earth's Taoism and traditional forces, it was time for him to fight for allies. Not to mention Mokai's top martial arts, Pure Bliss sect was also very influential. Now that Buddhism was in need of manpower, how could he push them to the opposite side? He scolded in his heart, "This Indian monk's brain is really not good. He doesn't even know that the key of Buddhism is to make more friends and fewer enemies. Our Central Earth's Buddhism is eclectic and eclectic. Hinduism is Hinduism, there is no cure for it. Amitabha, forgive me, I have slandered Buddha again. Patriarch Sakya must not be from Hinduism. Buddha is so wise, how could he be Hinduism?" Master Xianglong shook his head, obviously disagreeing with Jin Gangji's words. Shan Wei saw Jin Gangji's unwise eyes and had no choice but to say, "Junior brother, don't forget our other mission." Jin Gangji's expression changed. Do you know why Jin Gangji was so loyal to Shan Wei? It was because Shan Wui's background was even more extraordinary. Jin Gangji was of the Brahmin caste and was the direct descendant of the dragon tree. Shan Wei, on the other hand, was a monk of the king and was the descendant of Gautama Buddha's father, the sweet dew rice king. In terms of caste, birth, bloodline, and status in the Buddhism system, Jin Gangji was completely defeated. How could he not respect this senior brother? By now, Jin Gangji had already understood what Shan Wei meant. There might really be a Mahayana lineage in the eastern lands, and it was the core of their Vajra Mahayana Tantrism. It was the Vajra and womb sex, the proof of the identity of Buddha's direct disciple, the place of the Tao, and the supreme scripture, Vairocana Sutra. It was also their most important mission in the East Earth, to find the supreme scripture of the Tantra, Mahavairocana Sutra. Xuanzang, who was carrying the supreme scripture in front of his chest, said confusedly, "Thank you, senior martial brother. I am indeed a disciple of the Mahayana realm, although my master did not tell me about the orthodoxy that I inherited. Both of you are dead. But my heart and the Dharma I have learned are indeed the profound meaning of Mahayana." Jin Gangji's face turned green. He looked at Xuanzang and said coldly, "Then let me have a taste of Venerable Xuanzang's Mahayana Dharma." The Vajra wisdom finger came together, the tips of the fingers came together, the palms of the two hands separated, bulging together. His mouth chanted the mantra, Soa Soa Paluo To Saluo Demo Soa Paluo Dujen. After repeating the mantra 3 times, he slightly closed his middle finger. It was Jing San's mantra, lotus flower palm seal. On the Saber Mountain arena, with Jin Gangji as the center, an indescribable force spread out. The dust in the sky was pushed away by this invisible force. Under the moonlight, the dust reflected the light, like a budding lianhua, plated with a slightly bright and flawless layer. As Jin Gangji's hand seals changed, the white lotus bloomed. Layer after layer of lianhua bloomed. The entire Saber Mountain arena and the surrounding area were covered by that white lotus. His mind was a Buddha, his mouth was chanting mantras, his hands were forming seals, and his body was a pure land. Within the blessed lands of the White Lotus, all demonic demons had nowhere to hide. Zhu Ganglai let out a roar and transformed, revealing his true form. He was a golden boar. Within the blessed lands of the White Lotus, although the demonic chi was surging like a tidal wave, it was not suppressed by the blessed lands as Vajraji had expected. A human-like cold smile appeared on Zhu Gonglia's golden pig face. He said, "Do you still think that this old pig is that filthy demon? Let me tell you, my true form is actually Canopy Martial." Chapter 1001. Pale golden blood splattered on the Saber Mountain. The sound of dripping wind sounded like the wailing of ghosts and gods, but Jin Gangji's hands did not move at all. However, the lotus flower palm mudra in his hands changed. 2 thumbs and 2 little fingers connected, and the 6 fingers in the middle bent in sequence, like a budding lotus flower that was about to bloom. On top of the Saber Mountain, Sanskrit voices echoed, Samadhi Namanapala also Saa Maha. The Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva chanted the Samadhi mantra and formed the 8-leaf mudra. This was the Samadhi mudra of the Lotus Flower Division. The lianhua that enveloped the entire Saber Mountain arena slowly rotated, and a pale white light gathered on Jin Gangji's body, plating him with a faint golden glow. Jin Gangji's body was pale gold. The dirt, dark skin, and weathered face gradually faded away, leaving behind a flawless body of Jin Gang. As Jin Gang lowered his head, he slowly raised his head. As the lianhua Pure Land bloomed again, a body of Jin Gang stood between the 9 petals. The golden body of Jin Gangji was almost as tall as the nearby mountains. He stepped on the golden lotus, and the various Saber Mountains and hell around him seemed to be holding up his lianhua. Facing this body of Jin Gangji, Zhu Gonglia's figure seemed exceptionally small. Jin Gang slowly retracted his hands. His left hand was placed by his waist, and his right hand was erected in front of his chest. Then, he slowly pushed towards Zhu Ganglai and Xuanzang. As the golden palm pushed forward, the countless towering reefs and mountains all fell towards Zhu Ganglai. With the momentum of a landslide, thousands of blades formed a sea. Zhu Ganglai saw that as Jin Gangji pushed his palm, the surrounding sharp mountains all fell towards him. Countless blades gathered, collided, and spun towards him like a tidal wave. Zhu Ganglai showed no fear. He only shook the rake in his hand and protected Xuanzang behind him. The rake that was originally only as tall as a human was pushed out, and then it grew with the wind. It grabbed a mountain behind Zhu Ganglai and flung it towards Jin Gangji's glaring body of Jin Gangji. The huge hill smashed over, shattering any blade that blocked its path. The sharp reefs shattered upon contact, and the mountain top that was smashed over was continuously peeled off by the sea of blades. When it reached King Kongji, it was only half the size of King Kong. King Kong waved his left palm and split it in half from the middle. The remnant peak smashed into the five-finger mountain behind it, causing the mountain to tremble. The exorcists at the foot of the mountain had all sorts of expressions on their faces as they watched this scene. They had not expected such a huge commotion when it had only just begun. Was this still a martial arts competition? It was clearly moving mountains and draining seas, causing mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. He had thought that it was already amazing for the two judges to create two astonishing arenas. Unexpectedly, this Saber Mountain arena was still not enough for people to fight. Just as the Five Fingers Mountain shook, an angry roar came from the mountain. "What the hell? Do you still want me to sleep? If you want to fight, fight outside. Don't fight in front of my door." Among the lotus flowers on the mountain, a rusty black iron rod with two golden hoops on the middle extended out. The rod rapidly elongated and tapped on the chest of the golden body of wisdom. The golden body seemed to be heavily injured as dense cracks appeared on it. It flew backward, flying a distance of a few mountains before falling on a mountain. "You still have to work tomorrow. Do you have any sense of civility?" In the lotus pond of the Five Fingers Mountain, a muffled voice said, "Is this what Tathagata taught you? You have no manners." The faces of all the exorcists turned ugly. Bai Shaoxing exclaimed, This is the Monkey King?" Jin Gangji fell on the rocky peak and struggled to stand up. With a roar, he put his palms together, his fingers facing each other. His index finger and little finger were facing each other, while his middle finger and ring finger were crossed and pressed down. The two fingers were facing each other, and the fingertips were connected. This was the Earth Mudra. Countless Sanskrit chants surrounded the golden body and sang, "The days are long, the days are long, the days are long, the days are long, the days are full, the load is full, the load is full, the load is full of Ja." On the Sword Mountain arena, the main peak suddenly glowed with golden light and slowly stood up. Jin Gangji slowly raised the Earth Mudra, and the main peak also slowly rose until it was a few hundred meters above the sky. Countless rocks flashed with golden light and peeled off. The rocks on the main peak continued to peel off, and slowly formed the shape of a Jin Gang. The Earth Mudra was also known as the Jin Gang by Mudra. Jin Gangji roared, and the chanting around him became louder. The Jin Gang by Mudra in his hand pressed down on the ground. The huge Jin Gang by that was erected high also smashed down, the tip of the bai towards Zhu Gangui. On the bai's handle, there was a wisdom king's head that was glaring angrily. The angry aspect God's Vajra by God's powerful Buddha nature could remove all obstacles. The triangular by God originally symbolized breaking through all obstacles. In the Sanskrit words of Jin Gang Bai, there was the meaning of big nail and Dao nail. Jin Gangji, who was not far away, had a Jin Gangji in his hand. He smashed it towards the tail of the Jin Gang Bai, and an invisible force brazenly drilled towards Zhu Gangui. The faint demonic aura in his body was quickly dispelled, and all external techniques could not be used on him. It seemed that only his physical body could face the Jin Gang by that was drilling into his heart. The glaring Jin Gang wielded the Jin Gang by to stab the demons of all directions, and there was no obstacle that could not be broken. Jin Gangji was to use the wisdom of Jin Gang to break through all obstacles, and use the flawless dharma of Jin Gang to break through all external paths. Jin Gang meant that it was flawless, indestructible, the hardest, and the most perfect. Zhu Gangui, who had the appearance of a golden pig, had a fat head and big ears, and looked charmingly naive. He roared towards the sky, "Di Zun, help me!" Then, he stared at the sky above his head, with a hint of flattery. He was full of naivety and exceptionally cute. On one side, Jin Gang was glaring, but on the other side, he was acting cute. Zhu Gonggui's shameless shaking of his head and wagging of his tail finally caused the stars in the sky to light up one by one. Among them, the North Star hung high in the sky, and all the stars were intimidated. Then, the North Star and the 9 imperial stars lit up one by one. The Big Dipper was like a ladle, and the Bright Cave Palace's external assistant Star Lord, Hidden Light Palace's inner Star Lord, Tianren, Tianheng, Tianfu, Tianying, Tianyi, Tianzhu, Tianxin, Tianqiao, and all the way up to Tianping Qinxing. The 9 stars shot at the rake in Zhu Gonggui's hand, and the 9 teeth of the rake corresponded to the 9 imperial stars. Zhu Gongui summoned his courage and swept the rake horizontally, and the huge Jin Gang Bai collapsed upon contact. The Jin Gangji was caught off guard and was smashed on his body. The 9 teeth broke out of his body, and his golden body was instantly shattered. On the ruins of the Mountain of Knives, the Jin Gangji's true body suddenly spat out a mouthful of dark golden blood, and he fell to the ground, paralyzed. Zhu Gangui laughed and said, "You have divine techniques, and I have a backer. Your divine techniques are only SOSO, and my backer is incomparably powerful. Ah! How can you possibly defeat me?" The Jin Gangji said in disbelief, "Why? The glaring Jin Gang Bai only has the appearance, but it collapsed upon contact. Why doesn't Buddha help me?" The Jin Gangji was in disbelief. That Buddhist divine art, other than his own magic power, also had the support of various Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. However, the Jin Gang Bai collapsed upon contact just now, and all the support was just the appearance. Only his magic power was defeated by Tian Peng's Beichen Jiuchen support, and he couldn't resist at all. Otherwise, even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't have lost so miserably. Tian Peng said proudly, "It's because your backer isn't strong enough. You think you're fighting me alone, but you're actually fighting both me and Master. Of course you'll lose." At this moment, Zhu Gangui no longer looked down on Xianzong, and instead called him Master. The Jin Gangji still didn't want to believe. He clearly has no magic power at all, and he just stood there without moving. Zhu Gangui laughed and said, "What a joke, some people don't need to make a move, they only need to show their attitude. You think my master is useless? Yes, in most situations, he's really useless. But my master can suppress fate. He'll be successful in every endeavor." Zhu Gangui took Buddha's face into consideration, so he said it in a roundabout way. Actually, it was Jin Gangji's backer, the Dragon Tree Bodhisattva, who couldn't win against Buddha. Using the Jin Gang Bai that was supported by Buddha to smash the second direct disciple supported by Buddha, it would be strange if it had any effect. A battle filled with shady dealings and behind-the-scenes manipulations ended with the complete defeat of the Jin Gangji. When the Jin Gangji was carried off, he still couldn't believe that he had lost just like that. His Zen heart suffered a huge blow, and he couldn't recover from this setback. Chapter 1002. Xuanzang sat upright among the broken mountains of knives, while Zhu Ganglai stood with his rake. Regardless of whether they knew what was going on or not, the exorcists did not want to provoke this extremely weak demon trainer who could destroy cities and slaughter armies with his 2 disciples for the time being. Looking at the exorcists whispering to each other, Xianzong suddenly asked Zhu Ganglai, "Wu Ning, do you think they will listen to me now?" Zhu Ganglai knew what Xianzong was going to say when he stuck out his butt, so he advised, "Think twice. Master, you can't mess with that monkey. Just let him play. Don't get yourself into trouble." Xianzong sighed. "The Monkey King is naughty and mischievous. Should I just sit back and watch? Besides, I can't tolerate him using Miss Duan's matter." He immediately stood up and said to the Monkey King's arena, "Monkey King, you changed your name to Traveling Monk's Son and mingled with the exorcists who wanted to get rid of you. What are you plotting? The exorcists below exploded. Even Bai Shaoxing couldn't help but stand up. He said to the people around him, "Help me up, I want to take a good look." Master Xianglong couldn't help but shout, "Venerable Xianzong, you said that traveling monk's son is the Monkey King. Do you have any proof?" Xianzong looked at the Monkey King and said, "That day, Mr. Emptiness and Miss Duan found the Five-Finger Mountain through me after learning the tiger form fist and heaven crippling legs. At that time, you killed heaven crippling legs, and I asked you for advice on how to reform the pig demon. In the end, Miss Duan died trying to subdue the pig demon. Today, I'm not here to take revenge on you, because I'm not worthy. But I just want to ask you if you still have humanity in your heart." The Monkey King sat with his back facing Xianzong and said vaguely, "I'm not a human, how can I have humanity?" Hearing him admit it, the exorcism convention exploded. Blind screamed, He is the Monkey King." Master Xianglong couldn't help but take 2 steps towards the arena where the Monkey King was. He leaned on his Buddhist staff and looked over. Master Jingming's hand was on the 7 stars sword, Jin Gangji's eyes were wide open, and Shan Wei suddenly raised his head. At some point in time, Kong Hai had arrived at Vajra Wisdom's seat and bowed to him in the manner of a disciple. At this moment, he also stood up in shock. Hassan laughed sinisterly and said, "A hero of the Eastern lands. I can't believe you didn't even realize that your target was right in front of you." All the exorcists from the other world and the Eastern lands could not help but cast sidelong glances at him. "Monkey King, you are a human, or rather, all demons are humans. How was it inhumane? I, Chen Xuanzong, have always adhered to the concept of exorcism, and that is to deliver all living beings from suffering. Demons are not the source of all the sufferings of time. Only the 3 poisonous hearts of greed, obsession and anger are the true demons. I am willing to subdue the true devil, to deliver all living beings from suffering." Monkey King replied calmly, "You can't even save yourself. You still want to deliver all living things from suffering? To deliver others is to deliver oneself. Delivering all living things from suffering isn't something that can only be done after one becomes enlightened and becomes a Buddha. It's something that everyone can do. Deliver oneself and deliver others. In the past, I was ignorant, childish, and self-righteous. You taught me to face myself and others. Now, I'm going to teach you to let go of your evil thoughts and think of the common people." Xuanzong put his palms together. Monkey King smiled and said, "Chen Xuanzong, you are still ignorant, childish, and self-righteous. Summer insects cannot talk about ice. You are just a puppet that is manipulated by others. Can you not talk to me about freedom and enlightenment? I asked you, and you said you were enlightened. If you were to face me again, would you still be able to make a choice? Don't try to reason with this devil." Blind shouted, "Everyone, let's fight together." With that, he took out a slingshot and clipped a golden bead to it. He aimed left and right, and the surrounding exorcists dodged. Someone scolded, "You damned blind man, of all things, you chose a slingshot. You actually used a slingshot to get rid of devils." Blind suddenly revealed a smile that seemed to transcend the mortal world and said, "Use your ears to hear, and use your heart to shoot. The golden bullet exterminates the devil's body, and the heart's eye penetrates the devil's soul." With that, he pulled the slingshot in the opposite direction of Monkey King. Everyone was speechless and dispersed. However, after Blind shot the golden bullet, it actually shot forward at an astonishing speed. Its speed had completely surpassed the eyesight of Master Xianglong and Bai Shaoxing. In the orbit of the planet, it made use of the planet's gravity and rotation to accelerate continuously. In the end, it made one round around Earth and shot back to the center of Monkey King's back. At this moment, the speed of the golden bullet had already reached Mach 50. At such a high speed, the golden bullet had already transcended the state of matter and turned into a strange condensed state of matter. Despite facing such a terrifying weapon, Monkey King didn't even look at it. He just grabbed the marble when it got close to him. A furry claw slowly stretched out, and in his fist, there was still that golden bead. Monkey King said slowly, "A slingshot that looks like a crescent moon on my waist and a three-pointed, double-edged spear in my hand. The style of this slingshot is really familiar. Are you from Guan River Estuary?" Blind saw that his attack was futile, but his expression didn't change. Instead, he grabbed the slingshot and cupped his fists. "I'm nameless, a grass god. I'm not worthy of the great sage's name." The weirdos that were mixed among the exorcists, those with broken arms, legs, deafness, and dementia, all took out their weapons and shouted in unison, "The 800 grass gods of Guan River Estuary have received orders to protect Buddha's seal on the Five Fingers Mountain. Monkey King, without Buddha's order, don't even think of escaping." Monkey King sighed faintly. "Why would I, old son, need to escape? King of the demons. Monkey King." Master Xianglong took off his kasaya and picked up his monk's staff. "Today, Monkey King has escaped. It's a cause for celebration. It's a pity that it's a calamity for the common people and a great calamity for the righteous path. I can only use my broken body to suppress the great sage here again." Master Jingming also said, "That's good too. Let's test the quality of your demon king." The other exorcists were speechless until Bai Shaoxing stood out and said, "I'm already a cripple, so why should I care about my old body?" The group of exorcists pulled out their swords and knives without fear. Someone laughed. "I've killed many demons. Why would I be afraid of an old antique from 500 years ago? Everyone, follow me." The strong man standing at the front suddenly raised his glaive above his head. "Kill this demon! Kill!" Shouts came from the exorcists, and all of them charged at Monkey King. Blind picked up 4 golden marbles with one hand and plucked the string on his new moon slingshot. The 4 marbles shot toward Monkey King with astonishing speed and power. Master Xianglong flew up and charged at Monkey King with Master Jingming. A monk's staff surged like a flood dragon with the power to shatter mountains. The other 7 stars' treasured sword stabbed into the sky. In the distant horizon, a smear of white leaped out. Thunder roared in the sky, and countless bolts of lightning descended from the stars, gathering at the tip of the 7 stars' treasured sword. The Big Dipper in the sky reflected the 7 stars' treasured sword. Xuanzang turned around and was shocked to see Zhu Ganglai secretly retracting his hand. Zhu Ganglai smiled awkwardly. "I, old pig, am just saying hello. If that monkey hits me, master, you have to help me." Xuanzang looked at the exorcists and sighed. "How can I help you? I can't do anything." He looked at his hands and said sadly. Zhu Ganglai said, "Master, you are the only one who can subdue Monkey King. You are just lacking something. When you understand it, you will naturally have the boundless power to subdue the heart monkey." Monkey King punched out, and the entire sky was torn apart. Master Jingming's sword, which was strengthened by the Big Dipper and the Lightning Sect, was instantly shattered. The boundless power of lightning swept back, and before Master Jingming could make a sound, he disappeared within the lightning. Monkey King stretched out his hand and grabbed Master Xianglong's monk's staff. Master Xianglong struggled to hold on, but Goku easily lifted his Buddhist staff. Master Xianglong suddenly shouted, "Shinsu Huaining? Leave quickly. Take the legacy of our Shaolin Zen sect and go as far as you can." After saying that, he roared, and the muscles all over his body almost exploded. The full power of the Golden Bell Shield, which was as tough as steel, suddenly burst out, pressing the monk's staff inch by inch. Monkey King said lightly, "Not bad. I only used 1/10,000th of my strength, but you can actually block it. Then I'll be more serious." Then, with a slight force, Master Xianglong spat out blood mixed with his internal organs. His monk's staff was forcefully twisted, and his iron-like tendons and bones suddenly collapsed. Flesh and blood burst out from all over his body. "Ah!" Master Xianglong roared, and together with his monk's staff, he was smashed into the stone by Monkey King and turned into minced meat. 4 marbles shot toward Monkey King's eyes, but as his golden beast-like pupils opened, the marbles turned into ashes under the golden light emitted by Monkey King's eyes. Monkey King opened his mouth and roared, turning all the exorcists who were charging toward him into ashes. The 800 grass gods could not hold on for a long time and turned into ashes together. Monkey King stood on the arena that was covered with ashes, and his merciless eyes swept across all the people who were still alive. The remaining people who were still alive froze. Bai Shaoxing trembled and almost couldn't make a sound as he roared, "Demon! Demon King! Exorcist! This is the real devil's tribulation. If we fail, blood will flow like a river. At the end of the Sui dynasty, all the demons will come out, and the tragic scene of cannibalism will appear again." Bai Shaoxing roared, "Don't cherish this body, meet the tribulation with death." The rest of the exorcists resisted in despair, but were overturned by Monkey King with one palm. Everyone was crushed to death in front of an unknown ancient temple, where the blood of the Tang dynasty's exorcists was buried. Xuanzang knelt on the arena and said in despair, "Stop! Stop it! Don't kill! Don't kill!" Shan Wei could not bear it anymore. He stood up, and a huge Ksitigarbha materialized behind him. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had just opened his eyes when he saw the golden cudgel sweeping across the sky. His Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva shattered, and his Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva disappeared. Shan Wui's tendons and bones were crushed, and he fell beside his junior brother Jin Gangji. Under the Monkey King's demonic power, Zhu Ganglai and Sha Wujing wisely stopped resisting and watched from the side. The group of samsara travelers who had been fighting for a long time were trembling, and they murmured, "Damn God, he's tricked me again. This is the damn Monkey King. Is Buddha as strong as him? He's so strong it's almost impossible to resist." Zhuang Baifan said in despair, "How did Jinren Jiugong bully such a strong Monkey King?"